November the 10th, 2025. Welcome back to the Two Witnesses Live. I'm your host, Watchful, and it's that time once again for your daily Torment reports. We've got a lot to get into, so we're going to jump right into reviewing Donald Trump's post. We're going to start with what happened over the weekend. We've got a lot to get through here, and we're going to start with, let's see, this post is where, let's see, the last thing before this was he talked about Vivek Ramaswamy. And then this is, he spent some time this weekend talking about health insurance. And this is a chart indicating major health insurance companies' stock performance after Obamacare. And if this is true, and I have no reason to disbelieve that this is true, this is very alarming because if you look at this, you have insurance company, United Health Group, March 10th stock price. So this is before Obamacare, $25 and what is that? 66 cents per share. And then as of November 2025, well after Obamacare, share prices are $327.74. Yeah. Insurance companies have been getting rich off of Obamacare. So that is 1,177% growth. And then you can see, now that you understand how that is, you've got Cigna, 822% growth. You've got Anthem, Elevance Healthcare, 414, Humana, 490, Molina, 859, Centene, 604, and then Aetna, 595%. Now, the problem with these health insurance companies getting all of your money is how much of that money is going towards your actual health care and how much is going towards the business. You have the same problem when you're donating to, charities. Have you ever looked at how much money from charities go towards the actual cause that you're donating towards? It's just like you're better off finding. It's like a percentage. It's like 80 to 90% goes to logistics and only like 10% actually ends up making it towards what the charity does. Now, that's not true of all charities, obviously. But that's how a lot of these perform. And it's disturbing because you think, you're spending your, sending your $10, $25 to, help feed the children, and they're only getting 10 cents out of your $25. It's just like comparable in health insurance. It's just like you're going to pay for the health insurance and not so much, your care. This isn't going towards, your care. So this is the frame in which we should look at what Donald Trump has suggested this weekend. We're going to come back to it because he posts in between things. J6 shocker, FBI informants warned of armed violence, Antifa presence before the riot. Lawmaker reveals. So Rep. Barry Loudermilk says he fears that FBI withheld vital intelligence, creating fateful security holes before the Capitol riot. Duh. A rigged election. So Trump is saying, big news, a rigged election. Duh. How you guys doing? 0 illegal aliens released into the U.S. in the last 6 months. Do they have this on the wall, like in the office? Have you like in a factory or like 0 days since our last accident? This is 0 illegal aliens have gotten into the country. All right. The Democrats are winning in that they are destroying our great miracle economy, which is exactly what they set out to do. Terminate the filibuster. It's interesting to see how Trump works. He always seems to find a leverage point that he uses to push whatever it is that he wants to accomplish. So in this case, he wants to just reopen the country. He wants he said as much that he doesn't care if they just vote for what we already had that, was set up under Biden administration and just push it 2 months and so that we can negotiate while the country is open. And that's the thing with the Democrats is there's another one of these stupid votes in 2 months. So this is really the biggest impact is over November and December, which is when it's going to hurt people the most. And he's found a leverage point. Well, let's just let's push to have them eliminate the filibuster so that this is just a non-issue. Which, if they manage to actually eliminate the filibuster, that's going to make for an interesting 2026. I am recommending to Senate Republicans that the hundreds of billions of dollars currently being sent to money sucking insurance companies in order to save the bad health care provided by Obamacare be sent directly to the people so that they can purchase their own much better health care and have money left over. In other words, take the big bad insurance companies, take from the big bad insurance companies, give it to the people, and terminate per dollar spent the worst healthcare anywhere in the world, Obamacare. Unrelated, we must still terminate the filibuster. Of course. Of course. Oh my Lord. Gotta love this guy. These guys, I tell you, both Donald Trump and Elon Musk are by far my two favorite to follow. This is a blast. I look forward to this every day. I don't know about you guys. You guys look forward to this every day? You guys probably go through this stuff during the day, but the purpose of this is to record the prophecies, record what it is that these two men are saying during this term. So that we have a record, and you'll see in my thumbnails, I've been trying to put the kind of the main points in the thumbnails, so that you can go look at our videos and see what I should start putting. I should start putting the day, like 294 out of 126. I want to be able to look through and see what happened and see that there was actually 3.5 years worth of the stuff, and that's the way it's working out right now. You go and you look through the history, and you can see that both men are tackling big issues. And it's all leading. Man, I had some pretty big epiphanies this weekend. Two really big ones that we're going to talk about in the break between after we're done doing these reports. Really it's just eye opening towards where we're going. Very exciting. The picture is becoming clear on why things are happening the way they are, what to expect, and where this is all going to lead. It's just, I just look at it and I'm like, it makes so much sense now. And, that as these things are coming to pass, and it makes sense that people weren't able to guess until now, until certain things had happened. It was impossible to know. Anyway, I digress. We'll get to that. Remind me to get to it if I forget, which I don't think I will. We've got a video to watch after Elon Musk, and then we'll talk about the epiphanies this weekend. Okay, moving on. Yeah. So you see my point here is like, so he's recommending to send the money directly to the people, which would have a significantly bigger impact. Right. If I had the ability to, if I got a check that would assist me, because we used to, so before Obamacare, because we've been self-employed almost my entire life. Our insurance before Obamacare was $250. When Obamacare was implemented, our health insurance for a family of four went up to, I think it was $1,200. And it's just ridiculous. So if instead of sending that money to the insurance companies, we could even get it back, which he's even floating the idea that you may be able to fully pay for health insurance and have money left over to where some people will actually make money. That'd be great. Could you imagine making money from your health insurance money, making money from tariff money? We're heading towards, we're heading into a millennia of abundance, and there's probably going to be some rocky roads of a transition until we get there. Which I think is the bundling up of the tares. That's what I think we're going to go through, is where the transition is the separation of the wheat and the tares, the bundling up of the tares to be burned. And then once that takes place, then we're going to go into a season of abundance. Okay, moving on. The cost to buy a new home is down from 429,000 to 395,000, which is still ridiculously high. This is one that has gotten so I have friends who are who are real estate agents, and I have friends who sell mortgages and help people get loans for homes. I've been hearing mixed feelings about this. So Donald Trump has proposed that we should implement a 50-year mortgage. And I have to admit, by and large, most people are against this. And if you don't have a home, if you don't have a mortgage, you probably won't understand why. If you do have a mortgage, you may still not understand why. If you have a mortgage and you've looked at how you actually pay your principal, which is the amount you actually owe, most mortgages, now this isn't true for all mortgages, but most mortgages, if you have, we're just going to use a 10% interest rate, even though and it's actually 6, it's just for math. If you have a $200,000 mortgage with a 10% interest rate, you're going to pay that 10% on 200,000 first. So they front load your mortgage with all of that interest rate and then just a little bit of your principal. So your payments are going to go to pay I don't know, maybe math wasn't the right way to do this, but so what's 10% of 200,000? 20,000. So you're gonna go pay $20,000. So if your mortgage is $1,000 a month, for that first payment's probably going to pay $900 towards the interest and $100 towards the actual loan. And that's going to be like for the first 12 months it's going to be like that, and then it starts to balance out as you pay more of that principal. So as you get closer to have paid that 20,000, then it starts going more and more towards what you actually owe. And this is one of the reasons why people recommend that if you want to pay your home off earlier, make double payments. Because if you make, your first payment is towards, the interest, the second payment you can actually put all towards the principal and reduce everything down. You can get your 30-year mortgage paid in no time at all. Some people do it in 7 to 10 years on a 30-year mortgage, depending on how much you financed. Anyway, so the 50-year mortgage means that you're going to be paying longer on that interests, and you're going to be paying more interests. And the bankers and the people who have properties who want to rent them out are against this. But I totally get Trump's. So here's the thing. You're going to lose money on that interest one way or the other. So, but what this does is it allows people to, one, reduce the price. So there's a lot of people struggling right now because, maybe they have a $3,000 mortgage on a $300,000 home, where if they could refinance that to a 50-year mortgage, they could get that down to, say, 2,000. I don't know if that's the right number, but they could save $1,000 a month on their mortgage, and they might be willing to do that in order to stabilize, because like I was saying, you can always make double payments and pay off the mortgage and the principal. But what this does is it really opens it up for the younger generation who can't afford a home on a 30-year mortgage. They can't. Most young people just coming into a place where they're ready to buy a home can't afford a $3,000 a month mortgage. Maybe they can afford $1,000 or $1,500, and most are faced with, should I rent or can I buy? And on a 50-year mortgage, there's the possibility that you could buy rather than renting. So when you're renting, you get none of that money. And that's my argument, is you get no money when you're renting. If you're able to get a 50-year mortgage and who cares if that, the first, 5 or 10 years goes towards interests. You've secured a better home, and, we have a ton of animals. It's way better to own your own home than to rent. And it gives people the opportunity. And the thing is you're not really building equity until you're paying a principal or until the home goes up in value. So I'm on board with this. I understand that there's some issues with it and some pushback, but I'm totally on board with this. Now the question for a prophecy watch channel is, does this matter? And it might. We're going to look at Revelation 22, which is, what does the millennia reign look like? When we're done going through both Donald Trump and Elon Musk's post, we're gonna, I asked the question today, Grok, what does the job market look like? What kind of jobs will people have? And what does life look like after Christ's returns? And you'll be surprised. I think the logistics on it might actually relate closer to this than you might know, than you might have thought of. We'll see. I don't know, but it's an interesting solution to a problem to allow people to buy homes. All right, moving on. The Democrats are cracking like dogs on the shutdown because they are deathly afraid that I am making progress with the Republicans on terminating the filibuster. Whether we make a deal or not, the Republicans must blow up the filibuster and approve hundreds of long-sought but never gotten policy wins, like, as just a small example, voter ID, identification. Only a loser would not agree to doing this. Gotta love the fire from his mouth. See, he always manages to find those pressure points to kind of get things moving. It's a sign of a good leader, give people a reason to get stuff done quickly. Don't dilly-dally, either, do your job or suffer the consequences. All right. Let's see. Watch the all-new Above, Below, and Beyond presidential special airing tomorrow on Fox Nation, celebrating 250 years. I didn't watch this. This happened over the weekend. Yeah. All right. How was the volume on that? I'm using the built-in browser into the studio software here, hoping that the audio is a little bit louder than it was. All right. No more money. Hundreds of billions of dollars to the Democrat-supported insurance companies for really bad Obamacare. The money must now go directly to the people, taking the fat cat insurance companies out of the corrupt system of healthcare. The people can buy their own much better policy for much less money, saving for themselves an absolute fortune. President Donald J. Trump. I was listening to BP Earthwatch talking about, you remember a couple of days ago, I did an emergency broadcast because Gordon Findley from Novo had passed out in the office. BP Earthwatch had done a video speculating that was God indicating that Ozempic and the pharmaceutical company was a system of the devil, that pharmaceuticals, and I'm not quoting him. I'm just giving you the gist of what he was saying, but I noticed this as a sentiment among Christians, because in the scripture it talks about being deceived by pharmakia, deceiving the nations with sorcery and witchcraft, and in some cases that the Greek word is pharmakia. I tried commenting on his videos that you have to be very careful with how you present the scripture to people, to not unnecessarily cause fear. And the reason is people who don't think through the consequences and who are overly religious will literally die, because they'll believe what somebody tells them. So if somebody tells you that, Western medicine is evil, and as a result of that, you refuse to take anything that's considered Western medicine. We've seen this. We've seen that, parents have withheld taking their children to hospitals, for simple things. And tragically, their kids, die or are hurt very deeply. And the reason is, read the context where that word pharmakia is used. It's the idea of deception and witchcraft and sorcery. And I I'm inclined to believe that it has less to do with making medicines to heal people and is more to do with using chemicals, medicines, and drugs to deceive people. In other words, make them see things which are not real, make them believe things which are not true. You can definitely use, different chemicals to cause. And this is actually true through archaeology. They have been finding in the temples the cups that are used for like communion and stuff like that are literally laced with hallucinogens. So it is pretty well known, and this is well established. You can go look this up on Google. This is not just me making anything up as if. But it's pretty well established that, through the years, people have been taking drugs, smoking dope, and doing things to hallucinate. Even today, people take DMT, which is the drug which is the compound which is released during near death. When somebody is close to death, your brain releases DMT, and it causes you to experience things which are really common. Like when people take DMT, they have shared experiences, and some people are doing research to find out, is it just that because we're humans we hallucinate the same thing, or does it actually open up the quantum realm? Can you actually see and experience, some other dimension? Because there's a lot of commonalities. Anyway, I would lean more towards those kind of things than Ozempic. Is my point. Because his point is that God was having Gordon pass out as a means to indicate that Donald Trump is trying to deceive the nations or something. And I'm not sure if that's entirely what his point was. For some reason, he won't let me comment in his videos. He may have shadow banned me. Typically, I agree with BP Earthwatch. He's got some of the crazier ideas like I do. To where, for instance, he believes that 3i Atlas is very likely a spacecraft. So do I. I mean, the things I've seen and what I've been hearing people report, sure, it could be a spacecraft. I mean, that kind of, makes sense with things we've talked about before. But here's the thing with like drugs and Ozempic. I'm not by any means defending doctors or hospitals. I believe that they do a lot of damage because of their ignorance and ego. I believe that, they if the medical industry took more lessons from biblical healing, like fasting, our health would be significantly better. My understanding is you can cure a lot of things with fasting, and I've done a lot of fasting in my life too, and have had fantastic results. I used to have terrible carpal tunnel from working as a programmer. Anytime I have any inflammation flare up, I just fast for a period of time, and that all goes away. Fasting does miracles for the body. But it doesn't mean that there's not a valid use for medicine. And that was one of the big things that Donald Trump has been doing with Trump RX over the last week or two, is getting the most widely used pharmaceuticals that are typically really expensive at a more affordable rate. And the people who want to paint that as deceiving the nations with pharmakia, my question is this: what would you have people do? So if they're taking something that is a life-saving drug for them, what would you have them do? Die? Because that's what, and this was the question I asked, and it might be why it didn't show up in BP Earthwatch's comments, is what is the alternative? If people can't afford the medication, are you just suggesting that they die? Because in a lot of cases, these are quite literally life-saving drugs. Ozempic was designed to be a diabetes drug. It helps people with diabetes. So if your body does not produce enough insulin, Ozempic, what it does, as I understand it, is it restricts the flow of food through your system so that your body will spend more time processing food, and it stabilizes blood sugar level, which is massive for people who are diabetic. So what would you rather have people do? Spike their blood sugar? Just because some people use it to lose weight, and that's the thing with medications and drugs, is they can be used for good and bad. But to just blanket say that, this is Donald Trump trying to deceive the nations with pharmakia, I don't quite buy that. Especially when there's been known instances, through the years of people using hallucinogens in order to deceive. It would not surprise me if there's not a lot of that takes place in religion and in churches. Certainly the mind is so powerful that even suggestion can cause it to see things which don't exist. And I always remember, even Jesus spit in the dirt and rubbed something on somebody's eyes in order to heal blindness. So it's not like the act of using something to heal the body is forbidden. I mean, there's a lot of plants and natural remedies, but I'm not trying to defend insurance companies. I'm not specifically defending, pharmaceutical companies or anything like that. We need to think more critically with these things and be careful how we communicate something in the scripture in order to paint our leaders in a terrible way. Anyway, let's move on. I think I beat that horse. Yeah, anyway, so this is the point. No more money to the insurance companies. All right, I didn't see this special. Mark Levin and Laura Trump tonight on Fox News. I did not watch that. Terminate the filibuster. Singing a song. Okay, Republicans should terminate the filibuster. The Dems will do it the first chance they get. End the shutdown, pass a lot of great things, and win the midterms. So easy to do. Be the smart party, not the stupid party. Pay the people, not the insurance companies. So this is how he does 1,260 days of prophecy. Is sometimes it's just simple tweets. Although he did actually a lot of interviews and a lot of talking this weekend. He went to the game. Oh shoot, I clicked on this. Pay the people, not the insurance companies. Yeah, he actually did quite a lot of speaking this weekend. Yeah. I don't know if we're going to get into everything that he did. We're just going to kind of stick to what he posted on Truth Social, but it's interesting that 1,260 days is always not always, but it's fascinated me. Like, how can somebody talk for 3.5 years straight? And it kind of makes sense when you've got a platform that you can post to, and you're, in a position where you're managing and dealing with a lot of global impact stuff. Does that make sense? People that are against tariffs are fools. As far as I know, the Supreme Court is still hearing arguments in regards to if the president is allowed to use tariffs in the way that he is. I was listening to some of the hearings today. People that are against tariffs are fools. We are now the richest, most respected country in the world with almost no inflation and a record stock market price. 401ks are highest ever. We are taking in trillions of dollars and will soon begin paying down our enormous debt. $37 trillion. Record investment in the USA. Plants and factories going up all over the place. A dividend of at least $2,000 a person, not including high-income people, will be paid to everyone. My daughter is very curious to find out if this applies to her. She's like, ooh, $2,000. I'm like, probably tax-paying people, honey. She ain't paying taxes yet. Without tariffs, we have none of the following. Just posted truth. None of these things. All right. Less crime, more Trump. This is why people are tormented. Less crime, more Trump. All right. So let's get this straight. The President of the United States is allowed and fully approved by Congress to stop all trade with a foreign country, which is far more onerous than a tariff, and license a foreign country, but is not allowed to put a simple tariff on a foreign country, even for the purpose of national security. That is not what our great founders had in mind. The whole thing is ridiculous. Other countries can tariff us, but we can't tariff them. It is their dream. Businesses are pouring into the USA only because of tariffs. Has the United States Supreme Court not been told this? What the hell is going on? President DJT. Yeah, listening to the arguments that are being made, it's ridiculous. They're really arguing over the differences between being able to stop trade and license a country versus tariff, adding a fee onto things. So he could stop all trade with a foreign country, or he can license a foreign country, but to put a simple tax on it that they have to pay every time they, sell something here as a means to encourage, more businesses to take place in our country because it's cheaper. Yeah, it's ridiculous. I don't think they've made a decision yet. I could be wrong about that, since I was listening to arguments today. I am pleased to announce that John Cole Esquire, known as one of our country's truly great lawyers, whose victories included the first major tobacco case win, is being nominated as the United States Special Envoy to Belarus. He has already successfully negotiated the release of 100 hostages and is going for an additional 50. I would like to thank in advance the highly respected President of Belarus, Alexander Lukashenko, for his consideration on the release of these additional people. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Nice. Trump urges Senate GOP to give health insurance funding directly to the people. Yeah, we've been reading about that. What is this? I am recommending to Senate Republicans that the hundreds of billions of dollars we've already read this. This is just a repost. Give the money to the people. Agreed. All right. What do we got here?
And why are we giving Chuck Schumer power? I mean, one of the things that I would call on Thune, they just did away with the 60-vote threshold for judges. Why don't we do it for CRs? Why doesn't the Senate do it for keeping the government open? And I've called on Leader Thune and the Republicans in the Senate, do away with this 60-vote threshold to pass a funding bill to fund the government. It takes 7 Democrats to vote to pass it because they need 60 votes. I've called on Thune to do away with the 60-vote threshold to simply fund our government. Obviously, they haven't done that, so it requires them to go to Democrats to get the vote. They just exercised the nuclear option to pass Trump's judges and other confirmations because, of course, Democrats are holding that up as well. Why in the world are we going to Chuck Schumer to get 60 votes to fund the government? I don't understand it. So why don't we just do what he says that we're doing and call on Thune, which I have done repeatedly, to do away with the filibuster 60-vote threshold and pass the CR to fund the government? So the bill's sitting in the Senate. I've called on Leader Thune numerous times. I know he's not going to do it. I've had discussions with leadership on it. Change the rules and allow it to pass by a majority of the chamber.
Yeah. Cool. They did it with the judges. Hopefully that helps eliminate some of these activist judges. I don't know. I haven't heard a whole lot about eliminating the filibuster with the judges. I have no idea what that affects, but All I know is there's a lot, it's very interesting to what we're seeing with these activist judges, that judges who are not required to have law degrees, who can just be appointed by different administrations, are able to who are able to overpower the president of the United States. I mean, I think it's good that the president doesn't have unrestricted power, but as the commander in chief, um, I think that there's a good balance of power that the president has right now. We've seen that power can be used to take peace from the earth, as was done with the Biden administration, as well as bring peace, as was done with the Trump administration. So, yeah. I'm not for, I mean, unless it's, the son of God, I'm not for having the balance of power that we have. I think it's a good system. See, now that's a good idea. I'm recommending to the Senate Republicans that hundreds. This is Representative Anna Paulina Luna saying that Trump's idea to give money to us directly rather than to the insurance companies is a good idea. He's reposting that post. All right. Let's see. Breaking: Doge halts yearly payment of $2.5 million to Barack Obama for royalties linked to Obamacare. Obama has collected this payment since 2010 for a total of $40 million in taxpayer dollars. What? We've been paying him for Obamacare? Why? So he's been getting rich off of Obamacare. See, this is why we need somebody who's already wealthy to be president. You don't go into community service to get rich. I don't have a problem with somebody who's already rich going into public service, because you're not seeking power if you've already attained a certain level of wealth and power. It's what I think it means when the Bible is talking about the two witnesses are wearing sackcloth. Is both Donald Trump and Elon Musk are the top. They're the very top. Elon Musk is arguably the richest man in the world and is very likely going to keep that status for a very long time, especially if he can reach the goals with his $1 trillion pay package. Which, if I think we've talked about this, but if you're new to the channel or don't remember me talking about this, they did not vote. Elon Musk does not have $1 trillion in the bank. Matter of fact, he probably doesn't even have a couple of $1 million in the bank. That's just not the way he works. All of his wealth is in shares. So it's in ownership in the companies that he runs. And it's small percentages. Like, I think he owns 12% of Tesla. So it's not like he's a 50% owner. It's like he owns 12%. Maybe even less than that. He might only own like 3 or 4%. I might be thinking of 12 because that's the number they voted on recently, was that his pay package would award him 12% shares in Tesla. But yeah, he keeps very little money in the bank, as I understand it. So when he needs money, he goes to the bank and he just uses his shares as collateral. It's a way of not paying taxes, actually. And he got criticized for doing this, and he cashed out like I don't know, was it a couple of $1 billion in shares to pay taxes just so that the people would stop complaining about it. But what he does for his money is he goes to the bank and goes, I need $5 million for this, $10 million for this, which he's eliminated. From what I understand, he sold any homes or high value cars, or he pretty much couch surfs, and he did this at the White House. He was sleeping in the White House. From what I understand, is he pretty much couch surfs, to where he doesn't have like big multi-million-dollar mansions. He did at one point. He had a couple of them. He doesn't have any rich, fancy cars anymore. He did. He went through a period of time where he bought Lamborghini McLarens and stuff like that. But from what I understand, he's just completely eliminated all that stuff from his life. His family are taken care of, and when he needs money, he basically just goes to the bank and goes, "I need a loan for $1 million," and he leverages some of the shares that he has. And when he needs to start a new business or a bigger business, he takes all the value. He just does that at scale. That's how he bought Twitter. Is, when you've got $400 billion in value in your shares, it's pretty easy to go to the bank and go, I'm going to leverage some of my shares in order to buy Twitter for $56 billion. So his current net worth on paper is like $400 billion. So with the current package that they just voted on with Tesla, that will shoot up to $1 trillion. So he is expected to be the first trillionaire on paper. Doesn't mean that he'll have $1 trillion in the bank account, but it does mean that he'll have $1 trillion worth of leverage, making him one of the most powerful men in the world. Now, what I think it means when it talks about the two witnesses are clothed in sackcloth, he's not living like like he has $400 billion in the bank. He's not living like he's on target to make $1 trillion. He works 7 days a week, often sleeping on a couch, and the majority of what he does is to benefit mankind. Sustainable energy, safer cars, safer travel, multi-planet, making human mankind multi-planetary. And one of the things we're going to talk about when we get to his posts, sustainable abundance, which is post curse talk. Seriously, that's what a post curse world looks like: sustainable abundance. He's literally showing us the plan for how you achieve sustainable abundance. So, and I believe what we're seeing with Donald Trump and Elon Musk is the logistics of transitioning to a world of sustainable abundance. We've never been able to do this before because we lived under the curse. The curse started with Adam and Eve when they took from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil and introduced death into mankind and knowledge of good and evil. So that's coming to an end, and we can see, and that's why I think that there might be something to this 50-year mortgage is, when Jesus does return, what does that logistical transition look like? That's an interesting thing to talk about. So maybe we'll get into that some more, but let's continue with his posts. Judge hands Department of Judgment win in Letitia James mortgage fraud case after New York. Attorney General motion is denied. That's good. Let's see, what is this? I am sorry that the American people are being terrorized by the Democrats who have decided to shut down the government to make me and other Republicans continue Obamacare subsidies, which have been a windfall for health insurance companies and a disaster for the American people. The largest health insurance companies have seen their stock prices soar, some over 1,000%. Remember, we looked at that chart since the passage of Obamacare. Meanwhile, Americans' premiums have more than doubled, contrary to President Obama's promise. I believe that the money should go directly to the people to purchase better health care and create competition. This is a proven mechanism for keeping prices low. This enrichment of health insurance companies must stop. It is long past time to lower premiums, not enrich insurance companies. I stand ready to work with both parties to solve this problem once the government is open. Stop terrorizing the American people. Stop pushing failed policies. Yeah. Oh, no. Or he posted this again? Oh, good. He reposted the chart. So this is the chart we looked at earlier. Democrats claim to be working for the little guy and driving down your health insurance, but the Obamacare scam goes straight to their best friends in the insurance industry. They are making a killing while health coverage only gets worse. If Democrats get their way again, they're in for another huge payday at the expense of the American people. No deal. Republicans should give money directly to the people, directly to the personal health savings accounts that I expanded in our great, big, beautiful bill. I didn't actually look into those. I've used a health savings account for many, many years. They're a pain in the butt. Um, if you've never used a health savings account, it's basically a tax shelter for money. You when you're working for a company, you can choose to have part of your paycheck go into a health savings account, and then you can use that money to pay for healthcare services, and it's not taxed. So it's basically takes money out of your check pre-tax and puts it into an account that you can use for healthcare expenses. So if you're planning, and there's a limit on it, I can't remember what it is. It's like $5,000 or $10,000. But if you're, if you're expecting to, pay $5,000 in healthcare, you can put that into an account and not have to pay taxes on that. So it's in essence like a $5,000 write-off. So if they just put money in there, that'd be great. Everybody has so I'm curious. I haven't read the big beautiful bill on what the health savings account is. I never, I only know that because when I did work for companies, that's one way we did to, get more money from our paycheck. Never sent one up under self-employment though. I wonder how that works. What is this? So insurance stock prices soaring after giant Obamacare subsidies. So this is the same thing as that. The weighted average of health insurance stock prices are up 1,032% from 2020 from 2010, 448% from 2013. This is who's getting your healthcare dollars. Same thing. Recommendation that we stop sending tens of billions of dollars to Obamacare, under Obamacare, to money-sucking insurance companies. Oh, so Lindsey Graham's on board with this too. Yeah, recommendation that we stop sending tens of billions of dollars under Obamacare to money-sucking health insurance companies and instead send the money directly to the people so they can buy better health care is simply brilliant. President Obama promised that families' health care costs would go down by $2,500. Instead, premiums have increased over 100%. Like I said, our premiums went through the roof. The big winner of Obamacare since 2010 are large health insurance companies. Their stock prices has risen, in some cases, over 1,000%. Yep. All right, so what is this? So this is a video of something. Nope. That's just a picture. I can't hit play. Here, this is Lindsey Graham. Democrats are demanding we continue to throw money at a broken healthcare system.
We will not be held hostage to continue Obamacare that's been a miserable failure. We will not be held hostage to continue to give money to healthcare companies, insurance companies, to enrich them at the expense of the American people.
Man, I have mixed feelings about Lindsey Graham. He, especially with the way that he wanted to continue to fund Ukraine, it just there was that was a big trigger point for me with him, and the way that he was, and maybe it was AI. I don't think AI was at the point to be deceptive like that. And I think he's been very vocal about it when interviewed that he has a deep hatred for Russia and just wanted to blow them off the map, which to me is not healthy. What is this?
You're asking me and others to continue a program that is fundamentally broken, that's inflationary. And the only winner of Obamacare are the largest health care companies in America who are making excessive profits off a health care system you designed, and all you want is more people signed up on this program, and you're rewarding insurance companies for finding more people who are making a fortune, and the delivery of health care is costing more, and the quality is going down. We're not going to do this. We're not going to give in to this.
Yeah, and now I'm reminded of, actually, in our area, I can't remember if it's, I think it's something called Zoom Care, which was a growing like urgent care type of a office visit to where you could go if you needed just to see a doctor very quickly to get a prescription or something that could be done in house. A lot of them went out of business because these big insurance companies weren't paying the bills when they were supposed to be. So you've got these massive insurance companies who are receiving tons of money, and they're not taking care of the people the way they should. So I'm in agreement. Give it to the people. This is hilarious. Auto pen. Does it have the picture? There's one that has a picture with it. We'll read this. Auto pen. It's almost like an essay by Donald Trump. Auto pen. Sleepy Joe Biden was by far the worst president in American history, taking office as a result of the most corrupt election ever seen in the United States. Biden oversaw a series of unprecedented disasters that brought our nation to the brink of destruction. His policies caused the highest inflation ever recorded. Revelation 6:6. In the midst of the four living creatures, I heard a measure of wheat for a penny, for a denarius, 3 measures of barley for a denarius. His policies caused the highest inflation ever recorded, leading the U.S. dollar to lose more than 20% of its value in 4 years. That may not sound like a lot, but it's devastating. Pretty much our country was dead. His green news scam surrendered American energy dominance, and by abolishing the southern border, Biden let 21 million people from all over the world pour into the United States, including from prisons, jails, mental institutions, and insane asylums. His surrender in Afghanistan was among the most humiliating events in American history and resulted in the murder of 13 brave American service members, with many others gravely wounded. Seeing Biden's devastating weakness, Russia invaded Ukraine, and Hamas terrorists launched the heinous October 7th attack on Israel, nicknamed both Sleepy and Crooked. Really? Nicknamed both Sleepy and Crooked. Joe Biden was dominated by his radical handlers. They and their allies are in the fake news media. They and their allies in the fake news media attempted to cover up his severe mental decline and his unprecedented use of auto pen. Following his humiliating debate lost to President Trump in the big June 2024 debate, he was forced to withdraw from his campaign for re-election in disgrace. For Esdras Eagle much, while also persecuting many other innocent people. He left office issuing blanket pardons to radical Democrat criminals and thugs, as well as members of the Biden crime family. But despite it all, President Trump would get reelected and save America. That's a good essay. I wonder if he wrote that or if he just reposted it from somebody. But looks like he wrote it. Seems like something he would write. Bestsellers. So Eric Trump, John Kennedy, Mel Robbins, 1929. So I think he's highlighting his son's book here. All right.
So Senator Schumer, I couldn't disagree with you more. Every day gets better for us. You clearly need to get out of Washington and talk to people outside the wacky left. You're disconnected with real life in America. Every day this goes on doesn't get better for us.
They ripped the hell out of the rainforests of Brazil to build our 4-lane highway for environmentalists to travel. It's become a big scandal.
ClimateDepot.com executive editor Mark Moreno is in Brazil for the summit, and he joins us now. Great to see you this morning. Wow,
thank you.
You can't lay out more clearly these people's priorities than that right there.
No, you can't. In fact, the Brazilian environmental minister actually bragged. The reason they had to clear cut tens of thousands of acres for this 4-lane highway for this UN climate summit was so they could cram as many people here as possible to showcase how Brazil has been saving the rainforest. So this has been an amazing thing because this highway went through the rainforest that they've been trying decades. We've got to save the rainforest. We need climate treaties. And here they just cut it down so you could have all the limousines and SUVs and all the private jets come in and people can move freely at this summit, which is turning into a disaster here for them.
Yeah. So this is a conference that they do every year. And you said that this is the.
So we get the point. I don't think we have to watch that full 4 minutes. More shenanigans. How easy should voter ID identification be to get from the radical left Democrats? There should be nothing easier, right? Well, out of 47 Dems, we don't have even one vote from them. That is for one reason and one reason only. They want to cheat. They are a bunch of scoundrels, cheaters, and psychopaths. Wow, those strong words. Terminate the filibuster and take our country back. Approve voter ID. Make America great again. Fair enough. The top people in the BBC, including Tim Davies, the boss, are all quitting/fired because they were caught doctoring my very good, perfect speech of January 6th. Thank you to the Telegraph for exposing these corrupt journalists. These are very dishonest people who tried to step on the scales of a presidential election. On top of everything else, they are from a foreign country, one that many consider our number one ally. What a terrible thing for democracy. Did you guys see that report where they showed how the BBC had edited the January 6th video, making it seem like Trump was calling for violence when he clearly was not? They did a really good job. The video's not here. You might be able to get to it by going to this link. I can't do it on this browser. But if you didn't see that, they do a very good job showing like the doing it in a short enough period of time to prove to you that it was clearly edited to make it seem like Donald Trump was calling for violence when he was not. Here's another article along that. Another article, Trump goes to war with the fake news BBC. See, the White House appears to have standard chartered. The White House appears to have standard chartered in its crosshairs for alleged sanction busting behavior. Okay. Donald Trump's White House has accused the BBC of purposeful dishonesty amid a row over bias at the broadcaster. It launched its attack over the way the corporation selectively edited a speech made by the president, dismissing it as 100% fake news. British taxpayers were being forced to foot the bill for a leftist propaganda machine, said Carolyn Levitt, Mr. Trump's press secretary. She delivered the verdict after the Telegraph disclosed that a panorama documentary had sliced together different parts of a speech by Mr. Trump and made it seem as though he had told supporters to go to the Capitol and fight like hell on the day of the 2021 riot. Yep, that was all fake news. BBC Director General and News CEO resign over Trump documentary edit. Good. Yeah, fired. I wonder if that's what that meant in Revelation 11 when it says fire would proceed from their mouth. Maybe when John was being shown the visions from the angel that these guys are saying, you're fired. Maybe that's what he was trying to say. Fire proceeds from their mouth from those that would intend to harm them. Wouldn't that be funny? That's one way to seal up the vision, that's for sure. The main entrance to the new ballroom at the White House. Well, that's beautiful. That looks like an old-timey picture. A lot of gold. Selena Zito knows her stuff. Washington Democrats are missing in trying to recapture young people. Colin Arthrell sat at a table filled with young people at a luncheon in the middle-class suburban Pittsburgh borough, dressed neatly in a suit with his curly hair neatly cropped. 4 years ago, you would not have seen this many young people psyched about voting in an off-year cycle. But a lot of things have changed since President Donald Trump's reelection, including some profound cultural changes from Trump's approving U.S. steel facilities to the gruesome murder of Charlie Kirk. Yeah, a lot of stuff has changed, that's for sure. I just received the key to the city of Miami from Mayor Francis Suarez. Such a great honor. Thank you. Cool. DHS sees biggest jump in public approval among federal agencies. Yeah, don't believe the fake news. People, the social media, TikTok, and people would have you believe that DHS that their rebellious nature and poor treatment of ICE agents is having an impact. It's having the opposite impact. It's causing people to want to join more. Let's see. Lindsay Halligan finally brings Russiagate's last case to a close. Cool. Cash Patel skewers Stephen A. Smith for suggesting Trump was behind NBA gambling scandal arrests. Single dumbest thing I've ever heard. That's not a nice picture of Cash. FBI Director Cash Patel skewered ESPN's personality Stephen A. Smith for suggesting that President Trump was behind the arrests of NBA stars and coaches in an illegal sports betting scheme. Jeez. I'm the FBI director. I decide which arrests to conduct and which not to conduct, Patel told Fox News host Laura Ingraham on the Ingraham Angle. So this was a flyover at the stadium. So Trump did a surprise show up at the NFL, and this was a flyover with Air Force One, if you guys didn't see that.
Moments ago, Air Force One.
Not AI.
High above Northwest Stadium here in Landover, Maryland, as the Lions have taken a 7-0 lead over the Commanders, and we are scheduled to check the Commander-in-Chief, President Donald Trump, during the third quarter of today's game.
It should be an exciting conversation we're going to have with him. He was a high school football player back in his New York days, so looking forward to that conversation.
I might have to start watching football again. I totally stopped watching football after everybody started kneeling. I totally stopped watching sports after everybody started kneeling. That just made my stomach turn. Newt Gingrich. Wow, this is from October 11th, so he reposted this. This is from a while ago. The New York Post report on the Nobel Peace Prize winner dedicating her prize to President Trump may be a bigger honor than if the committee had given the prize directly to the president. As the Post reported, Venezuelan opposition leader Maria Corina Machado on Friday said her historic Nobel Peace Prize isn't just a victory for her embattled nation, it's also a tribute to President Donald Trump, whose policies have restored democracy and freedom in the Americas. I dedicated this award to the Venezuelan people and President Trump because I believe that's absolutely fair. We, the Venezuelan people, are absolutely grateful to President Trump for the way he has supported democracy and freedom in the Americas. Remember, she is praising him for working on Venezuela while his public focus has been on Gaza and Ukraine. President Trump's reach and ability to multitask is historic. No kidding. No kidding. Nobel Peace Prize winner Maria Corina Machado hails Trump for restoring democracy and freedom in the Americas. Yep. Letitia James' niece living in home at center of fraud indictment exposed as fugitive from the law with years-long rap sheet. It boggles my mind that illegal aliens and criminals are so blatant these days. You know what I think? I think so much of the tribulation, it really seems to me that the tribulation is the burn, and I apologize if you're suffering terribly in this time, but it seems to me like justice is finally being served. You know what I mean? It's just like we went through a period of time where evil was allowed to run rampant, and it's almost like it was like we went through this period of time to allow the tares to show their ugly heads so that the harvesters could go through and cut them out. And now we're going through the cutting process. While others talk about peace, President Trump is making it happen. Give this man a damn peace prize already. Luna nominates President Trump for a 2025 Nobel Peace Prize. I mean, the dude did bring peace to 18 freaking countries in 8 months. Or not 8, 16 countries. So it was total of 8 peace agreements, right? So agreements between 2 or more countries. If that doesn't win you the Nobel Peace Prize, it's a sham. Obviously, it's a sham. They ripped the hell out of the rainforest. We already saw this. We already saw that. Excuse me. Liz Peek is great on Maria Bartiromo. She really gets it. Thank you, Liz. Is that an ad? No, this is the ad. This is just I don't know what this is referring to. Liz Peek is great on Maria Bartiromo. She really gets it. I think he's just thanking her, thanking somebody.
Well, a federal grand jury has subpoenaed former CIA Director John Brennan, along with former FBI officials Peter Strzok and Lisa Page, among others, as part of the Justice Department's investigation into the origins of the Trump-Russia probe. Sources telling Fox News Digital the subpoenas were served Friday. Meanwhile, meeting notes from John Brennan and James Comey from 2016 reveal former Secretary of State and presidential candidate Hillary Clinton approved the effort to vilify President Trump by stirring up the Russia collusion scandal. Devin Nunes joined you yesterday on Sunday Morning Futures, Maria.
For 10 years, we've had a conspiracy to do what? What's the law that they broke? What they broke is that they lied and misled Congress. Specifically, they concealed this information. They concealed the fact that they knew that this was a cover-up by the Clinton campaign. As I said in the last segment, instead of exposing the cover-up, they weaponized the Justice Department to go after their political opponents. All of this information was not only hid from the American public, it was hid from Congress over and over again. We know now that Brennan did it. We know now that Comey did it. We know now that likely Clapper did it. Now, what we don't know is...
Unbelievable. Well, that weaponization of the DOJ, the CIA, something, Maria, that you've been reporting on for several years. Now, subpoenas have been issued. So we'll see.
Yeah. Well, look, our audience, and me included, we want to see some accountability here. Liz, in my view, this was the #1 biggest political scandal anyone has ever seen. You had one political campaign, the Hillary Clinton campaign, just trying to take down her political enemy by coming up with lies about President Trump and then candidate President Trump. Because of her contacts in government, she was able to push this through government, putting it through the CIA, putting it through the FBI, so much so that they attached the Steele dossier to an absolute real intelligence assessment. And, you know, we have the notes from John Brennan when he was in the Oval Office with President Obama. And he writes in his own little scribble, he writes, we have an alleged approval by Hillary Clinton on the July 26, 2016, of a proposal from one of her foreign policy advisors to vilify Donald Trump and tie him by stirring up a scandal claiming interference by Russian security services and tie him to the Russians. He wrote it all out, Liz. We knew it from day one. I sniffed this out very early on, and I'm looking to see, because, you know, what happens here, because it ripped the country apart.
Yeah, and that's really the point, isn't it, Maria? Kudos to you for keeping this story alive. And I think what the American public needs to know, this hurt the country. It undermined President Trump for 4 years. It occasioned a great witch hunt, as he says, into accusations that proved to be totally bogus and basically were made up by political opponents. It doesn't get much worse than that. When you say it's the biggest political scandal of our lifetime, it was followed very quickly by pretending that Joe Biden was okay, and he wasn't okay.
That was the second biggest political scandal in our lifetime.
Right?
That was the second, and I'm wondering if January 6th is going to be the third. So we've got our eyes on that one as well, because lots coming out of that. But just think about this, Mike. 2 weeks before President Trump is about to start his first term in 2017, all this is all over the place, going viral. Smears, lies of collusion and cheating going across the world. Just 2 weeks before he's about to take the helm in the Oval Office.
Maria, not only did they weaponize the power of the United States government, to frame a sitting president as an agent of a hostile foreign nation, we now have the Russia-Ukraine war Okay, millions of people have died because of this nonsense, right? So even if you're not a Trump fan, even if you think Trump had something to do with Russia, okay, you can agree that had they not done this, there likely would have been a diplomatic channel to stop that war.
Oh, yeah.
So
there was such a dereliction of duty, and the dereliction of duty goes even beyond that, because look where we are with China. As they were saying, Russia, 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 China was eating our lunch. Now we're dependent on 90% of the underlying components of pharmaceutical drugs made in China and India. We're dependent on Taiwan for advanced semiconductor chips. All this should have been addressed in this 10 years of conspiracy against President Trump.
Yep. Starting to come to light. What is this?
Well, I mean, I love the way Mamdani completely ignores what President Trump has already done. I mean, he's talking about, oh, it's a new day, we're going to attack affordability. Excuse me, that's exactly what President Trump has done since day one in office. Look at the price of oil. Look at the price of certain foods. He has, in fact, used affordability as one of his number one agenda points. And he's done actually effective job in bringing down the price of oil. And I know is working on other elements of affordability as well. But
yep. One thing's for sure is he's busting his butt. And that's the thing. I don't think I finished talking about Elon Musk and Donald Trump. I talked more about Elon Musk, that he basically couch surfs. He's the richest man in the world, and he couch surfs. Same thing with Donald Trump. He's arguably right now the most powerful man in the world, but he's incredibly wealthy. He has been the richest man in the world a couple of times. And he's choosing to spend his days from 5:30 to midnight working for the people. I mean, like, he's not working for himself. He's not doing this to attain more power. He was already been the richest man in the world. So I think that's what it means when it says they're clothed in sackcloth. Yeah. I mean, it could mean other things. We could be wrong about Donald Trump and Elon Musk, but I don't know. I mean, like, after covering their posts in the way that we have, I'm more convinced today than I've ever been. I don't know is that a bias on my part, but just seeing, number one, the fact that they're active every single day, and every single day they're speaking the truth and confronting evil. I'm just more convinced, and you're going to be more convinced about Elon Musk after we go through his posts and talk about a couple of things. Especially on this, with this idea of sustainable abundance. It's exciting stuff coming.
But it seems to me, if you are not allowed to raise questions about the validity of an election in your country, that's wrong. And I think the prosecution and persecution, I would even say, of Rudy Giuliani and some of these others was wrong. And I'm happy to see that Trump has issued these pardons.
Yeah. Is he going to pardon Snowden? I don't think he is. My understanding is that was a double-edged sword, what Snowden did. He exposed a lot of things, but he also exposed a lot. He hurt a lot, got a lot of people hurt as well. So that one, I don't know if he's going to pardon Snowden. Amon Ra, Saint Trump, Lion superstar, just pointed up to Washington suites and did the Trump dance after a touchdown.
Now from the slant to St. Brown, he is in for a Lions touchdown.
He's pointing at Trump. Because Trump did a surprise visit to the game. So he pointed up at Trump in the box and did Trump's little dance that he always does. That's nice. Oh, this is good news. All air traffic controllers must get back to work now. Anyone who doesn't will be substantially docked for those air traffic controllers who were great patriots. Oh, wait. I read that too quickly. All air traffic controllers must get back to work now. Anyone who doesn't will be substantially docked. For those air traffic controllers who were great patriots and didn't take any time off for the Democrat shutdown hoax, I will be recommending a bonus of $10,000 per person for distinguished service to our country. For those that did nothing but complain and took time off, even though everyone knew that they would be paid in full shortly into the future, I am not happy with you. You didn't step up to help the USA against the fake Democrat. You know what this reminds me of? I'm reluctant to say this. This reminds me of Matthew 24, when it talks about the slothful servants, the ones who, what they did while the master was away. They like turned to eating and drinking with the drunkards and beating the servants. This kind of has that similar vibe to it, that same kind of tone. I'm not happy with you, and I'm not suggesting that Donald Trump is the Messiah. I mean, he is, and I believe he is anointed. I don't think he's Yeshua. Let's just put it that way. But it has that same kind of tone. Like this is, I can imagine that Yeshua is going to be talking a lot like this about people when he gets back. You didn't step up to help the USA against the fake Democrat attack that was only meant to hurt our country. You will have a negative mark, at least in my mind, against your record. If you want to leave service in the near future, please do not hesitate to do so with no payment or severance of any kind. You will be quickly replaced by true patriots who will do a better job on the brand new state-of-the-art equipment, the best in the world that we are in the process of ordering. The last administration wasted billions of dollars trying to fix antiquated junk. They had no idea what they are doing. Again, to our great American patriots, God bless you. I won't be able to send your money fast enough. To all others, report to work immediately. God bless America, President Donald J. Trump. I don't know if we're going to read this post. I can't remember if it was from Elon Musk or someone else, but it might show up when we go through Elon Musk's posts. So, to his point about the state-of-the-art equipment, somebody had made a comment that all the programming that is needed to handle the air traffic control in the United States of America can be handled by a pregnancy test, by the CPU and a pregnancy test. Kid you not. There's this viral programming exercise that's kind of going around to where engineers are trying. They test a video game called Doom on lesser and lesser computer processors to see if it will run Doom. So there's this thing called Will It Run Doom? It's basically just a simple little highly optimized 3D video game from the 90s and 2000s. And the processors have gotten so powerful that even the computer in some pregnancy tests is powerful enough to run this game called Doom, which if it can run Doom, it can also run all the air traffic control in the United States. So I think it's funny that the last administration wasted billions of dollars trying to fix antiquated junk. Anyway, you'll see it if it comes up. All right, what else? All air traffic controllers must get back to work. All money left over from the $2,000 payments made to low and middle income USA citizens from the massive tariff income pouring into our country from foreign countries, which will be substantial, will be used to substantially pay down national debt. Oh, won't that be nice to see the debt clock actually stop or reverse for a little while? That would be great. The U.S. debt, the whole thing, I don't know a lot about the debts around the world. I believe that the countries around the world have over $300 trillion in debt if you add it all up. The question is who owns that debt? And I believe the answer is no one. It's just a element of the way our financial system works, to where they literally create money. They just print unlimited money. And when they print money, they also generate bonds, which receive the interest. So when you pay back the money, it's just going to, and I don't know a whole lot about this in order to speak intelligently to it, but I do have a general idea well enough to answer the question, who owns that debt? So when he says that we're going to pay down that $37 trillion, I believe that ultimately what it does is it goes to paying back like bonds that were issued when the debt was initially created. So basically, whenever they need money, they just print it, and then they print an IOU to the treasury. So when you pay back that debt, it's just paying back the IOUs. I think that's a roughly accurate representation of how our financial system works. And from what I understand, it's gotten that way over the last 200 years as a result of changes that have been made to our financial system and to the banking system. There's a lot of big wealthy families that are involved. I can't remember the one family. A couple of big families who like own the banks. But yeah, it's just like nobody owns the debt. It's just like we print money. Countries just print money out of thin air. And as I understand it, we just generate an IOU. And the IOUs get traded and sold and bought. And then when we pay back the debt, it pays back those IOUs. So I don't know exactly the full implication. And I think this is one of the reasons why, you know, administration after administration really doesn't make any effort to pay off debt. But I do love the fact that we finally have a president who's trying. Because I don't believe that you should carry massive amounts of debt. You know, I don't go to the extreme as some to where you should live completely debt free, because there's massive benefit to taking advantage of debt. For example, Elon Musk. That's despite his value on paper. He's mastered leveraging debt in order to build what he has. And a lot of people make money with properties using debt. One of the primary ways that millionaires get rich is with property. So the way it works is you buy a home. If you can increase the value. So say you buy a home for $200,000, and then you increase the value to $250,000 or $220,000. Then you can go to the bank and leverage that $20,000. And then what you do is you go buy another home. You go, I'm going to use the equity from my first home to buy another home. Then you're not using any cash out of your bank account. You're just leveraging. You're leveraging the value that you increased in the home. And it could really be as simple as mowing the lawn. So you can buy a home that has terrible curb appeal, spend a couple of weekends improving the curb appeal, and then have it reassessed for the value, and you gain instant equity. And then you can use that equity to go buy another home. And then you can turn that first one into a rental, and rental income is not taxed the same way as, earned income. So that's one of the ways that people get stupid rich with real estate. What got me talking about that? Why did I start talking about? I don't even remember why I started talking about that. Let's keep going. We were talking about paying back the debt. Oh, you leveraging debt. There's a lot of people who are a little extreme for my liking on debt. And this was actually the way I was raised. Is I was raised to owe no man anything but to love one another. I was raised to not carry any debt. And I learned that the best way to scale in our economy is to leverage debt. So anyway, just to avoid another rabbit hole, I gave you an example of one way you can leverage debt in order to build wealth. And what a lot of people do is that's how they'll build income from rental properties and not pay any taxes, or pay very little taxes. The payback numbers that's how Trump made his money. That's why he spent so much time in real estate. The payback numbers being quoted by the radical left lunatics who would love to see us lose on tariffs because of how bad it would be for our country are much higher than those being stated by our fake opposition. Opposition mainly from foreign countries that would do anything to be allowed to charge us tariffs without retribution. The actual number we would have to pay back in tariff revenue and investments would be in excess of $2 trillion. And that in itself would be a national security catastrophe. Those opposed to us in the United States Supreme Court are giving low numbers so that the court will think it's easy to get out of this terrible situation that these anarchists and thugs have put us into. So this is in regards to if the Supreme Court rules that the president doesn't have the power of tariff, then we would have to, all the tariffs that he has placed on countries would be nullified as I understand it, and the money that we've made from them so far would have to be paid back, which is absolutely ridiculous considering the whole world has seen how they've been used to bring peace and wealth and income to America. Who in their right mind would say that he doesn't have that power? It's ridiculous. Happy 250th birthday to our incredible United States Marine Corps. From its founding at Toon Tavern in Philadelphia to the sands of Iwo Jima, Korea, Vietnam, and the Middle East, and every fight since then, the U.S. Marines have always led the way and crushed their enemies. Peace through overwhelming strength. Semper Fidelis. We love you all. President Donald J. Trump. Donald J. Trump, President of the United States of America. There's a book from Nicole Parker, The Two FBIs, The Bravery and Betrayal I Saw in My Time at the Bureau. Former FBI Special Agent Nicole Parker has written a powerful new book, The Two FBIs, The Bravery and Betrayal I Saw in My Time at the Bureau. Nicole is a strong voice for eliminating the scourge of weaponization that has plagued our system of justice for too long. She understands that fidelity, bravery, and integrity is more than a motto. It is a call to action for true American patriots. Like Nicole, we are committed to liberty and justice for all. Pre-order your copy of this great new book today. These are some pictures of, I think this is the president of, here, if I keep scrolling, we'll get to it. Ahmed Hussein al-Shara, the new president of Syria, where we discussed all the intricacies of peace in the Middle East, of which he is a major advocate. I look forward to meeting and speaking. Again, everyone is talking about the great miracle that is taking place in the Middle East. Having a stable and successful Syria is very important to all countries in the region. Yeah, so there you go. So a bunch of pictures with him in the White House. Very nice. Surprised he took a picture like this. Oh, man. I forgot I can't look at pictures on this view. Surprised he had a picture of him standing up like that. I think in some countries that would be seen as him submitting. People are weird like that. All right, we are done with Donald Trump. Let's get to, I know you guys have been asking questions, and I've just been kind of going because playing catch up on the weekend is time consuming. So let's look at what you guys have been talking about in the chat. So I'm going to go all the way back up to the top. We got 3-Eye Atlas from Joe Man. This 3-Eye Atlas could possibly be linked to Revelation chapter 12. Yeah. Listening to BP Earthwatch and people talk about the changes that it's changed color, it's changed direction, it's changed speed. I mean, there's a lot of stuff being reported about it. It's very interesting. And, what's been happening with 3-Eye Atlas has been, fueling a lot of my epiphany thoughts, over the last week or so on like the possibilities of what the return of Christ really looks like. I mean, like that could quite literally be him, the Son of Man, appearing in the clouds for the whole world to see. So 3i Atlas, as I understand it, is 7 miles long. So I imagine if that thing showed up in our atmosphere, it would get the attention of the entire world. And it wouldn't surprise me if there wasn't some kind of technology that was used to so this was an interesting thought I had. How the pyramids, we're always talking that the pyramids are power generators. I don't know if you've looked into that. I haven't talked about it on here too much, but like AJ from the Y Files believes that the pyramids are leftover technology before the Egyptians, and that the Egyptians inherited them. But what I think most people agree with on the pyramids is that they generate power. Now, what's interesting is they're strategically placed around the world. And what if they're part of the resurrection system? I've talked about, and this is kind of one of my bizarre theories. The more I learn about quantum physics, quantum entanglement, quantum computing, and stuff like that, the more I wonder about this idea of like, what would it take to resurrect the dead? If our bodies are just a clay vessel that is like an incubation chamber for our consciousness, our soul, then whatever it is that makes us who we are could be transferred into another body. How would that work? I think we have a better idea of how that would work today with the invention of the computer, because we're able to transfer a program from one computer to another. We're able to use a USB stick and copy a document onto that, and then take it to another computer and view the information. So what that's proven is that information is transferable. Well, Elon Musk has proved with Neuralink that we're able to put devices in the brain and interact with signals in the brain. We know the brain works on electrical signals. That's a fact. So much so that we're able to put a device in somebody's head and they're able to interact with a computer because of those electrical signals. It stands to reason that whatever mechanism that makes you who you are, perhaps when you die, and we also know that the brains are radio frequencies, the radio transmitters. We know that, we're affected by frequencies and radios and stuff like that. I think that explains a lot of things like telepathy and and maybe even how the still small voice of God gets into your head. Anyway, it would not surprise me if we're not about to learn about if the information about or the answers to like the pyramids isn't about to be revealed. Like, what if they are some kind of computer nodes that receive the consciousness of people when they die? I don't know. Bizarre thought, but and the reason I think about that is there's a lot of scripture that talks about, from that that when people are resurrected, they come out of the ground. So like in Esdras, it talks about the resurrection being like a birth to where the earth gives up its dead. So it wouldn't surprise me if our consciousness isn't like stored in the earth somehow. So wouldn't it be interesting if like Jesus, literally the king of the universe, doesn't show up on a spaceship? Maybe he earned the right to be king because of his sacrifice, because Adam, lost it. So Yeshua earned the right to be the king, as the Son of God, the only begotten Son of God. I think so many people forget that Adam was also called the Son of God. You guys know that, right? Because Jesus is called the second Adam. So it would not surprise me if Jesus, the Son of God, the King of Kings and Lord of Lords, doesn't show up on some kind of craft that uses the same technology that the ancient Egyptians inherited. And that might be why Moses had some knowledge about the Garden of Eden, is that may have been, well, obviously God, he talked to God on the mount, and he very likely received information directly from God. But it also stands to reason that, the Egyptians and the pyramids, there's some questions around that stuff. There's definitely some technology we don't understand. We don't understand how the pyramids were built. And the fact that they're built in such a way that they absolutely do generate electricity. What if they're just part of the system that stores our consciousness? And what if when Jesus returns, it just basically, takes that consciousness and puts it into a new body? Isn't that what the resurrection is? I mean, think about it. This is what I spend my weekends thinking about, the logistics of how this works. So one way it could work is the same way that Adam was formed from the dust of the ground. So bodies could be formed from the dust of the ground in mass. And I imagine that it's a pretty simple thing to do. That the bonds could be put together pretty quickly, and life can be put back into a body, and the consciousness can be downloaded into a particular body. Yeah, so to answer your question, Joe, it could be related. I'll stop going down that path. Squirrel. All right, yeah, let's see. Y'all don't buy into stuff Wrath and his like are saying. He's got ideas straight from Islam. Yeah. Islam's on the rise right now. Islam seems to be involved in end time events. I think I've been reluctant to say this, but you know how it talks about Jesus instructs his angels to put the sickles, put in their sickles and harvest the earth. It wouldn't surprise me if Islam's not involved in that harvesting. I don't know. I don't know the full details on that, but when I think that from looking at what's happening with Islam, with the Al-Aqsa flood, with the religion and how it dominates countries and how it infiltrates countries and wants to dominate at all costs, it seems to me like it's a mechanism of, maybe a better way of putting it is the how do you say this? Burning the chaff or burning the tares, because we know the harvest, the separation of the wheat and the tares, if that parable that Jesus told in Matthew has any bearing on how the end time tribulation goes down, it stands to reason that there are those who are allowed to, trying to figure out how to say this in a YouTube safe way. Let's just say it this way. So in the parable of the wheat and the tares, the tares are gathered together to be burned. It wouldn't surprise me if Islam's not involved in that process. And also, when you look at the two witnesses, when it talks about the beast from the bottomless pit, it seems like they could be agents of that beast, responsible or at least participating in the death of the two witnesses. Because it is true that when in Islam, when they kill an enemy, they send gifts to one another. Although I will say, seeing the way that the left has responded to the death of Charlie Kirk, I don't know if I'm entirely convinced that it's only Islam, because I can't imagine that those who rejoiced at the death of Charlie Kirk wouldn't rejoice at the death of the two witnesses, right? I mean, like, there's a whole new group of people that are involved in rejoicing at death that I never considered before. Like, it absolutely floored me to see even people I've known my entire life rejoicing at the death of Charlie Kirk. Who does that? I never in a million years thought anybody would do that. But sure enough, there are people who somehow in their mind managed to justify that whatever it was he was doing and saying was worthy of assassination. I mean, are you kidding me? Yeah. That was a surprise to me. So it wouldn't surprise me if there's not the same level of, so maybe it's not just Islam. I've unfairly, pointed at Islam, because that is a practice that when they triumph over an enemy, they do send gifts to one another. They literally hand out candy in the streets. It's a practice that we see even today. Islam teaches that Jesus wasn't crucified. If wrath shows, okay. Beware of wolves in sheep clothing, claiming to follow Christ but preaching lies. 100% fury. And debt is created out of thin air when you borrow. Yes, Dina, you are correct. I believe I handled that tonight. Our debt is pretty much created out of thin air. I see what you're saying, but the bottom line should not be such a struggle to be a homeowner in the first place. It shouldn't have to be. Yes, it matters. Yeah. In Isaiah, so when I was looking at, I'll talk about this more. No, we can talk about this now. So let's look at this. So earlier I asked Grok, let's talk about jobs after Jesus' return and the resurrection of the dead. What will people be doing? What is written about that time and the jobs people will have? Include references from both the Old Testament and the New Testament, as well as the New Testament, if they exist. So I was trying to get an idea of what the scripture says about like the logistics of what life is going to be like after Christ returns, because we know we're going to be here on earth. So imagine Christ has showed up in a big spaceship in the sky. The whole world's going to be in shock, obviously, because, and the funny thing is there are literally reports from different agencies. I can't remember which one it is. I think it's like the CIA or something like that. But you see these retired officers going on podcasts talking about memos, warning about, if you see aliens in the sky, not to be alarmed or be deceived. And then you see Christian channels talking about this stuff. There's a lot of Christian channels that are thinking that there's going to be like this, that the strong delusion is going to involve alien invasions. So anyway, just because it's fun to think about this way, because it kind of makes it real and less fantasy. So imagine Jesus shows up in a spaceship, a big 7-mile long ship in the sky. Maybe it blots out the sun so that it's dark on the earth because it takes up so much of our atmosphere. What happens next? Well, I think if we really wanted to be specific, the dead in Christ are risen first, and then those who are alive and remain are caught up together with the Lord in the air. So maybe we're all teleported into the spaceship. If there's no spaceship, maybe there's no spaceship. Maybe we actually get bodies that are capable of, teleport faster than light travel. But it's easier for me to wrap my brain around stuff that I can actually like visualize from things that, like, when you watch Star Trek, like the way they beam people up. There was a breakthrough recently that proved that the technology for teleportation might actually be achievable. So I think it even if we're wrong, it's easier to wrap your brain around it if you think in terms of things that you're able to relate to. So from that perspective, let's just assume Jesus shows up in a giant spaceship. They teleport everybody who's alive into the ship and extract the consciousness of the people who have died in Christ into that spaceship, and everybody gets new bodies, right? Because this body that we're in is a corruptible body, born dead in trespasses and sin. So maybe that's the new birth. See, that makes more sense to me. The new birth is those who are dead get a new body. Those who are alive and remained are transformed. In both cases, it seems as though we get a new body. How that works, I have no idea. But let's just pretend that it's Jesus shows up, teleports those who are alive and remain, downloads the archive from the earth where all the consciousnesses are stored. I don't know. What is life like after that? So I imagine that there'll be a period of time of, like, what do you call it? Training? Because you're going to have a lot of people going, holy crap, what just happened? Where have I been sleeping? What do we do? I imagine that there's going to be learning, because it does say that we have the battle of Armageddon, right? So maybe in our new bodies, after a period of time, we come back down and then there's the battle of Armageddon, right? Okay. After all of that has taken place, the battle of Armageddon is done, and we're here left on Earth. What does it look like? This is kind of what I was getting at with this idea. So this is what Grok responded. The Bible doesn't give us detailed day in the life itinerary for the age after Jesus' return and the resurrection from the dead. It's more poetic and visionary than a job listing on LinkedIn. But it does paint a purposeful, joyful activity in a renewed creation, free from sin, toil, and frustration. This spans two main phases in many Christian interpretations: the 1,000-year millennial kingdom, Revelation 20, where Christ rules on earth with resurrected believers alongside survivors of the tribulation. Hence what I just explained. And the eternal new heaven and new earth, Revelation 21 and 22, after the final judgment and full renewal of creation. Work and jobs aren't drudgery here. They're an extension of God's creative nature, restored to the goodness of Eden before the fall, Genesis 2:15, with the curse on labor lifted, Revelation 22, verse 3. So let's break it down with key scriptures from both testaments. I'll focus on what people, resurrected believers, might be doing, including roles that sound like jobs. Think governance, creation, stewardship, and worshipful service. These aren't exhaustive, but they're the clearest glimpses we get. This is really fun. I love this stuff. This is where my mind goes when I'm not working. Old Testament visions, prophetic of the renewed kingdom. So the prophets often blended the millennial era with the eternal state, emphasizing peace, productivity, and harmony with creation. No more vanity and labor, like Ecclesiastes laments. Everything bears fruit. So this is what I was referring to in Isaiah. Isaiah 65, 17 through 25. God creates new heavens and a new earth. People will build houses. So we'll still be building houses. So this is written in Isaiah 65. People will build houses and dwell in them. They will plant vineyards and eat their fruit. No longer will they build houses that others will live in. So no more real estate industry. Sorry, those of you who make money in real estate. So this is what I was talking about with the 50-year mortgage. Is there may still be an economic financial system. So, your 50-year mortgage may still need to be paid off. I don't know. No longer will they build houses and that others live in them, or plant and others eat. That's in verses 21 and 22. Long life, no infant mortality or untimely death. Animals live in peace. The wolf and the lamb will feed together, right? Okay. So what it implies for daily life. Construction will still be taking place. Agriculture will still be a thing. And homesteading will be fulfilling vocations. No exploitation or loss. Enjoying your own work's results with extended families and zero waste. Joy replaces weeping. This echoes a restored Eden where labor produces abundance without frustration. And then in Micah, nations stream to God's mountain for instruction. They will beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. You hear the Jews talk about this one all the time. This is what they're looking for in their Messiah and what's going to take place once he arrives. Everyone will sit under their own vine and under their own fig tree, and no one will make them afraid, right? So there's not going to be the fear of death, the fear of robbery. We may or may not have front doors with locks on them anymore. Everyone's just going to get along, right? This might be why what we're going through now with the gathering together of the tares for them to be burned. Like all those people who are problematic. So people who refuse to love God and love their neighbor, people who have high ego and, are just worthless to society. These people aren't going to be around. So what is that? What's the implication? Farming, tool making, peaceful security work. So anybody who's a security guard, you probably won't have a job. Cops probably won't have a job. Transforming weapons into tools suggests roles in disarmament, agriculture and environmental stewardship, personal property, and restful enjoyment of creation. No fear or conflict. And then we're almost done here. This is pretty short. Then Isaiah 11:6-9, the Messiah reign begins harmony. The wolf will live with the lamb. The leopard will lie down with the goat. The earth will be filled with knowledge of the Lord, which we can comprehend that because we have the internet. Animal husbandry or eco-stewardship without predation, teaching, knowledge sharing, and delight in nature as communal activities. These Old Testament passages echoed in places like Zechariah 8 with elders in the squares and kids playing safely show a tangible earthly existence, building, planting, teaching, where work glorifies God and benefits everyone. Now, the New Testament fulfillments, Jesus' teaching and revelation zoom in on the resurrection. Corinthians describes imperishable, glorious bodies like Jesus' post-resurrection form, able to eat, be touched, but unhindered by physics. So, teleportation bodies. After the dead rise, in 1 Thessalonians, believers join Christ in ruling and renewing. So in Revelation 21, then I saw a new heaven and a new earth. God dwells with people. He will wipe away every tear. There will be no more death or mourning or crying or pain, for the old order of things has passed away. God declares, I am making everything new. So what does this imply? No jobs tied to fixing brokenness. No more doctors or therapists. Wouldn't that be nice? So healthcare system, no more Obamacare. Healthcare will just be completely removed. Focus on renewal, creative building, healing environments, and relational depth with God and others. Physical life continues, eating from the tree of life. Oh, I've got something to share with you about that. Exploring a perfected world. In Revelation 22:1, let's see. A river of the water of life flows from God's throne. The tree of life bears full fruit monthly for the healing of the nations. His servants will serve him. They will reign forever and ever. No night. God's face seen directly. Service to God as a primary vocation. Worship fused with action like angels' roles. Governance, reigning over creation, perhaps judging nations or stewarding resources. I was thinking about this with judging. There's in the scripture, it talks about us being judges and even judging the angels. I almost wonder if part of, because we're in this period of time that's supposed to anoint the most holy. I wonder if part of, how do I word this? I'm wondering if we're not in this period of time. So Jesus makes this comment about separating the sheep from the goats, to where when he was naked, when he was hungry, when he was in prison, One group, the sheep, fed him, clothed him, visited him, and the other group didn't feed him, didn't clothe him, didn't visit him. I'm almost wondering if what's happening now isn't, it's almost like a job interview. Like if you're not taking care of people, you're only taking care of yourself. You're going around beating people, causing trouble. You're lying, which there's a lot of ways to lie. You can lie directly and intentionally. You can lie by way of omission. You can lie by way of ignorance and bias, which happens a lot of time with false prophets, because you get a lot of people who will take something they've heard from someone else and they'll turn around and teach it as though it's true, and they don't understand a word they're saying. But in a lot of cases, they're lying, because the teaching that they originally are repeating is full of it. Like these people don't read the scripture with an eye to understand what's actually being written. So they push false doctrines. And that's why I think you're seeing an increase in false prophets now, is because there's a lot of people who are seeing that we're in the end times, and they're starting to repeat the teachings that have been taught for the last 20 and 30 years, 40 years, 50 years. And they're not actually looking at the scripture. And that's why a lot of people are missing a lot of the fulfillments of end time events. So I wonder if all of this isn't going to be taken into account in who are the judges. All of that is to say that those people who are just really making an effort to love God and love their neighbors as themselves during this time, and who are found working, who are found feeding those that are hungry, that's both physically and spiritually, clothing those who are naked, both physically and spiritually. If somebody is naked spiritually and they don't understand things, and you have an opportunity to teach them and help them grow, that's clothing somebody spiritually. If we're not literally in a job interview, because that, I wonder if that's what it means by anointing the most holy. Basically identifying the people who are going to be the judges. And when we finally get to this point to where we're building houses, Christ is returned, we're beating our weapons into plowshares and hooks. If they're still not going, that we're not going to be judging the nations. Like Jesus is going to pick, look, you visited me when I was in prison. You fed those who were hungry. You clothed me when I was naked. You spoke the truth in the face of many liars. That's what makes a good judge, right? Somebody who will speak the truth, even though it may bring consequences. And that's what we're seeing in leaders like Elon Musk and Donald Trump. Despite the consequences, despite the massive pushback, both of these men are amazing witnesses of what it means to stand up and lead and speak the truth. And we see that every day. This is one of the benefits of this channel, is by going through their posts and reading what it is that they're saying and they're doing, we can see it. And I think those who are spiritually minded recognize it. Those of you who are just coming to this channel, if you haven't been here for very long, stick around, because that's the whole point of this channel, is to find the two witnesses and echo their 1,260 days of prophecy. And so far, Donald Trump and Elon Musk have been doing a great job of giving us content. Every day they're confronting evil. Every day they're speaking truth. Every day they're defending people. Every day they're moving us closer to this vision. So this is what I mean by, I think these guys are working on the transition towards what life is going to look like after Christ returns. So basically they're preparing the world to transfer from the kingdom of the current God of this world to the kingdom of Yeshua and his God. Does that make sense? All right. at the renewal of all things, when the Son of Man sits on his glorious throne, you who have followed me will also sit on the 12 thrones, judging the 12 tribes of Israel, which is what I just said. Judicial governance, roles for the apostles, extended to the believers via 2 Timothy 2:12. If we endure, we will also reign with him. So that's an idea of what that might look like. Those of you who have done well during this time may be rewarded with the privilege to be able to sit with Yeshua and judge. So it's a good time to be honest, be honest with yourself, be honest with the text when you're reading the scripture. Don't insert words into the scripture that aren't there. One of my biggest pet peeves is the whole Antichrist thing. People insert the word Antichrist everywhere and it blinds you to everything, to where you just cannot see what's really happening. I was thinking about the little horn from Daniel and what one scenario like that might look like. So in the United States, there's a series of progression to where if something happens to the president, the vice president becomes the president. If something happens to the vice president, the Speaker of the House, I think it is, becomes the president. And if something happens to the Speaker of the House, then the Secretary of Defense becomes the president. I was thinking that could explain how a little horn could uproot 3 other horns in a situation like that, to where somebody in a lower office progressively unseats 3 or 4 offices in front of them in order to become the person in charge. Anyway, squirrel. Yeah, but my point in that is if you lie to yourself when you're reading the scripture, or if you're reading it through a bias because you're believing something you were told rather than actually trying to read it with the intention to understand it, to where a good example of this is when you read Daniel, are you inserting the word Antichrist there? You absolutely should not be inserting the word Antichrist when you read Daniel. You should not be inserting the word Antichrist when you read 2 Thessalonians. The only way, and this is my opinion, but the only way that could fit is if you're referring to the spirit of Antichrist, because then you could insert the spirit of Antichrist in 2 Thessalonians as the son of the man of sin, son of perdition, who sits in the temple of God as God, showing himself that he is God, because you could make an argument that that's what the spirit of Antichrist does. You cannot make an argument that there is a man who is going to be a living person who's opposed to Christ, who's going to sit in a temple and declare himself God. That it's not written there. The word Antichrist is not written there. And 1st and 2nd John don't support that. Anyway, that's a textual argument. And I think people need to be more honest when they're talking about that, because the honest answer is that Antichrist is not used in 2 Thessalonians. It's not. When you read 2 Thessalonians, the word Antichrist is not there. And the only way that the attributes could apply there is if you look at the attributes. Anyway, I think you guys understand what I'm saying. Excuse me. Well, we reached the 2-hour mark when my mouth stops working. We haven't even gotten to Elon Musk yet. Here, so we'll wrap this up. So picture a world where your job feels like play, endless creativity without burnout. How nice will that be? Farmers tending self-sustaining vineyards, builders crafting eternal homes, rulers ensuring perfect justice, healers drawing from the tree of life, and everyone in constant face-to-face fellowship with God. No 9-to-5 grind. It's all for joy and his glory. Colossians 3:23. Some traditions, like premillennial views, see more structured roles in the millennium transitioning to a freer expression eternally. Theology nerds debate details, but the vibe is clear. Resurrection life is active, relational, and productive, not lounging on clouds. And then, yeah, so the rest of this is grok. So isn't that interesting? So one way that I could see some of this happening is with what Elon Musk is suggesting. So I want to play a video for you right now, and we're going to watch this entire video. I believe it's okay. So this is from a lady that I've been watching lately. So Elon didn't post a whole lot over the weekend. So I think we've got a little extra time to do this. But so this is from somebody I've been watching recently. Her name is Julia McCoy. I'm really fascinated with her because, like myself, she too came out of a cult. And I'm finding more and more people like myself and like Julia who have such a deep love for God and for the scripture, who were in these cults and who realized that what the scripture actually says doesn't fit with what the cult is trying to make us teach. She works in technology. She has a online school called First Movers, I believe, which teaches how to use AI. This video is actually AI generated. She does such a good job with these videos that I want to figure out how to replicate what she's doing, because I want to be able to get more content out. I have so many things to share. I literally don't have enough hours in the day to be able to produce it all. So I'm looking for ways to be able to maximize the time that I do have. And I think she might be able, her process might actually be able to help me generate more content in the same amount of time. But so look at how good this video is. You just got to appreciate how good this video is. But she's going to talk about Elon Musk and his AI abundance prediction and how it might actually fulfill prophecy. And it relates directly to what we just talked about with what does it look like when Christ returns. But actually, before we watch this, should I do some more? Let me go scan through the comments here. I realized I didn't go through all the comments. See if you guys had anything you wanted me to answer. You know what? I'll do it while we watch the video, and then I'll respond in the chat.
Did you hear what Elon Musk just predicted about our future? The
This was
genius
7 months
behind
ago,
Tesla,
by the way.
SpaceX, and Neuralink believes there's an 80% chance we're heading toward unprecedented abundance through AI. He says that by 2030, just a few years away, artificial intelligence will surpass human intelligence. And within a decade after that, humanoid robots could make goods and services virtually free.
10 years, probably AI could do anything better than a human can, cognitively. Probably almost, I think in 10 years, based on the current rate of improvement, AI will be smarter than the smartest human. There will also be a massive number of robots.
By the way, I got to ask, how come your robots look so much like the creepy robots from iRobot? Was that intentional or just...
I was hoping he was going to say, yeah, just to mess with you.
It's not meant to look like any prior robot. We'll iterate the design. A lot of the robot parts are cosmetic. You'll be able to switch out the kind of snap-on cosmetic parts of the robot, make it look like something else if you'd like. Mm-hmm. So there will be ultimately billions of humanoid robots. All cars will be self-driving.
In 10 years?
In 10 years, probably 90% of miles driven will be autonomous.
Huh. Wow. That fast?
Yeah. In 5 years, probably 50% of all miles driven will be autonomous.
Now, if AI will be smarter than any person, how many jobs go away because of that? And what do people do if you've got millions of people that are losing their jobs? Like that, a lot of people are understandably freaked out about that.
Well, goods and services will become as close to free. So it's not as though people will be wanting in terms of goods and services.
So why is that? Why are goods and services free in an AI world, or close to free?
Well, you have, I don't know, call it tens of billions of robots. They will make you anything or provide any service you want for basically next to nothing. It's not that people will have a lower standard of living; they'll have actually a much higher standard of living. The challenge will be fulfillment. How do you derive fulfillment and meaning?
I'm just realizing my mic was muted on that. Thank God it was short. What I said is it blows my mind that Elon's time frame with AI and the robots and sustainable abundance is targeting 2030. Even our timeline after seal number 7 is in 2030. This lines up with the Messiah 2030 calculations, the Messiah 2027 calculations for the rapture. And even the Jews are now looking for 2030 for major transitional change and possibly the return of the Messiah. So there's everything seems to be pointing, this timeline seems to be correct is what I'm saying, is everything is leaning towards the 2030-ish to where we can start to expect these things. So it blows my mind that Elon Musk is predicting in 2030 like the abundance with robots and stuff like that. It just blows my mind.
Skynet real? Like you get the apocalyptic visions of AI. How real is the prospect of killer robots annihilating humanity?
20% likely, maybe
Wow.
10%.
On what time frame?
5 to 10 years.
So soon, like you see a world where that's possible.
Yeah, but I mean, you could look at it like the glass is 80 to 90% full, meaning like 80% likely will have extreme prosperity for all.
Here's what I think most people are missing. This prediction of radical abundance isn't just a tech visionary's dream. It perfectly aligns with the world as it was designed to be. This is Dr. McCoy, Julia McCoy's digital clone, and today I'm revealing why Musk's forecast isn't just possible. It's actually part of a divine pattern that's been unfolding since creation. Ready? Buckle in. This is a good one. But first, a quick word about Julia's company, First Movers. Hey, real quick, I want to interrupt to share with you that if you're looking to build agentic workflows in your business, transform your marketing processes, or get content done without a human writing team, my company First Movers specializes in AI transformations that are super practical. Learn more and book your free consultation today at firstmovers.ai/consultation. Now back to the topic. Let's break down what Elon actually said. He's predicted that AI will surpass human intelligence by 2029 or 2030. Inside 10 years after that milestone, he believes humanoid robots could perform most physical tasks, making goods and services nearly free for everyone. Think about that for a moment. Nearly free goods and services. A world where scarcity is no longer our primary economic problem. Now, Musk isn't blind to the risks. He acknowledges a 20% chance of catastrophic outcomes with AI, but that means he sees an 80% chance of positive outcomes, an abundance revolution that could reshape human civilization. Critics call this utopian thinking. Tech skeptics say it's impossible. Fear-driven headlines warn us about AI takeovers. But what if Musk is right? And what if this vision of abundance actually reflects something much deeper about our reality? To understand why Musk's prediction isn't as radical as it sounds, we need to look at the original blueprint of our world. In Genesis, God created a garden of abundance, not a desert of scarcity. His first command was to be fruitful and multiply, literally to create more abundance. Throughout the history of the earth and the Word of God, we see a consistent pattern. God designed natural systems that multiply, regenerate, and provide. Jesus himself demonstrated this principle when he fed 5,000 people from 5 loaves and 2 fish. Abundance from seeming scarcity. This reflects all the teachings about the law of abundance. When you get into the realm of quantum dynamics, where everything is
See, this is one of the things. So some of the ideas that I've been talking about recently with quantum mechanics and like our consciousness and stuff like that, since I've started thinking about those things, that's how I kind of came across her channel as I've been searching for it and I found her channel. She's absolutely amazing. She's the channel that recently did a story on the breakthrough with teleportation and how they were able to teleport something that could be used in physical teleportation through standard wires and through the internet, which is mind-boggling. But yeah, she's amazing, and seems like we're like in harmony on some of these ideas on how things potentially work.
Is consolidated together, past, present, and future, you can see that you've already accomplished everything that you deeply desire and crave accomplishing. Visualizing this can literally bring this future into existence. Spiritual principles actually mirrors what quantum physicists have observed. Observation affects reality, and at the quantum level, possibilities exist in superposition until they collapse into our experienced reality. But this isn't just spiritual theory. The data shows we're already on an abundance trajectory, exactly as we would expect in a world designed for prosperity. Look at the facts. Global GDP has increased 100-fold over 200 years. Life expectancy has more than doubled in most countries in just a century. Extreme poverty has plummeted from 42% to less than 10% in just 4 decades. Access to electricity has reached nearly 90% of the global population. Solar energy costs have dropped by 99% since 1977. Each major technological revolution has created more abundance, not less. The agricultural revolution freed us from constant food gathering. The Industrial Revolution multiplied human productive capacity. The digital revolution democratized information and connection. The AI revolution stands to continue this divine pattern. What's especially fascinating is how modern physics is catching up to spiritual truths. In the quantum world, particles can exist in multiple states simultaneously until observed. This mirrors what the Bible has long understood, that intention shapes reality. There's a higher dimension where things are already complete. Dan Duval, a spiritual researcher, explains that quantum entanglement is the scientific basis for the spirit phenomenon. When we align our intentions with God's design for abundance, reality begins to organize around that alignment. This isn't just mystical thinking. It's supported by quantum mechanics, and it suggests that abundance isn't just possible. It's the natural state of a proper...
Isn't that a trip? I don't know if you guys realize what it is that she's saying, but she's talking about theories with quantum mechanics and the way things work actually being used to explain things like the law of abundance and prayer and believing, all things whatsoever you shall ask in prayer, believing, you shall receive, right? These are, this is very likely the mechanisms that are involved in accomplishing that, to where the quantum mechanics basically the universe moves to make it happen. And, we undervalue, what it actually means to believe something, or even prayer. Some people don't realize, some people think that, prayer is going nowhere, going into the ether. But when you realize that God's a lot bigger than just one individual, you realize he's everywhere present. You realize that the entire universe moves to, give you your prayers. It's really fascinating. So I love learning about this quantum mechanics stuff because it's for the first time something that actually beyond just fantasy explains, in my mind, how things could work. It's very fascinating. I love this stuff.
Properly aligned world. So, where does AI fit into this divine pattern? I believe artificial intelligence isn't a departure from God's design. It's an amplification of it. Think about it.
100%.
God gave humans creative authority in Genesis when Adam named the animals. We've been co-creators ever since, using our God-given intelligence to develop tools that extend our capabilities, from simple machines to complex algorithms. AI represents the next step in this progression. It's not replacing the divine design. It's helping us recover it by removing artificial scarcities. When Elon Musk predicts that AI will make goods and services nearly free, he's describing a world that's closer to Eden than to our current scarcity-based economy.
See what I mean when at the shareholder meetings, when he's talking about everybody gets their own robot, and the idea that a robot can like clean your house, do your dishes, cook you food, mow your lawn, build a house, harvest food. I mean, like, it's a logistical way of describing abundance, sustainable abundance, so that can you imagine if we're in bodies that are no longer, tempted by lust and sin, to where we all just get along because we've got new bodies. The sin nature has been taken out. We have new bodies that aren't even subject to that kind of stuff, to where we're not tempted. We're not jealous because of what our neighbor has. We're not jealous because somebody has something more than we do, but we're all living in a world of abundance. And it could very well involve robots. I mean, you know what I think is interesting is I was talking to somebody this weekend, and this is just a weird thought, but what if that's not why TV shows like Star Trek and like The Matrix and these TV shows that gives us the eyes, a lot of those are done based on emerging technologies. It's just like once the idea of something comes into fruition, people, try to visualize it with TV shows and stuff like that. What if this is the reality of our world? What if we're literally moving towards something like Star Trek, to where, we can teleport with a teleporter up into a spaceship and travel the universe and if you've ever looked at how big the universe is, it would keep us busy for eternity. So it would give purpose for eternal life. If you truly believe in Christ, that he saved you and that you're going to live through all eternity, what are you going to do during all of eternity? It makes sense to me that we would build a home here, that we would have access to food and resources, but at the same time, we would also have purpose. We'd have something to do, right? Why not travel the universe? Why not build ships and travel to new planets and build, new civilizations there? Elon Musk is talking about making life multiplanetary. What if we're the first civilization that does that? Maybe there is no life in the universe. Maybe Earth was the planet that was seeded in order to do this, and this is the expectation of eternity, is that, Earth is home base, but, those who are adventurous and want to, reach out into the stars and see what other cool things God has done in the universe, that is so exciting for me. I don't know. It may not be as exciting for you. Some of you might want to just sit home and let your robot tend your garden, or you may not want a robot. You may want to plant your own garden, do all your own work. This is one way that we can get to that sustainable abundance, and it's super exciting.
He's describing a world where energy becomes abundant through AI-optimized renewable systems. Food becomes abundant through AI-managed precision agriculture. Education becomes abundant through AI-personalized learning. Healthcare becomes abundant through AI-assisted diagnostics and treatment. Housing becomes abundant through AI-designed and robot-built structures. This isn't science fiction. The technologies are already emerging, and they're emerging now because we're at a divine inflection point. Now, let's address the 20% risk that Musk mentions. Even in a divinely designed world, humans have free will. We can choose to align with abundance or scarcity, with love or fear. The Bible is full of stories where people rejected abundance thinking. Remember the Israelites who saw giants in the promised land rather than the abundance God had prepared? They could not see that it had already happened. Their fear created their reality. Similarly, with AI, our collective choices will determine which future we create. If we approach AI with fear, we'll create restrictive systems that limit its potential. If we approach with greed, we'll concentrate its benefits rather than distribute them. With wisdom, we'll harness it as a tool for unprecedented abundance. This is where spiritual discernment becomes crucial. As Dan Duval notes, it would be better for us to learn how to use prayer to make us more like God than it would be to learn how to use prayer to get things from God. Our alignment matters more than our acquisition. So how do we position ourselves for this coming wave of AI-enabled abundance? Cultivate an abundance mindset. Fear sees limitations. Faith sees possibilities. Jesus said, I have come that they may have life and have it to the full. John 10:10. Develop uniquely human capabilities. AI will handle information processing, but creativity, compassion, wisdom, and spiritual insight will become more valuable than ever. Align with divine purpose. In an age of material abundance, meaning becomes the true scarcity. Purposeful work aligned with divine intention will be most fulfilling. Embrace collaboration with technology. AI is a tool, not a competitor. When we approach it with wisdom, it becomes an extension of our God-given creativity. Remember that true abundance is spiritual. While AI may deliver material abundance, the deepest forms of wealth remain love, meaning, purpose, and connection. Elon Musk's 80% prediction of utopia isn't just plausible. It's part of a divine pattern that's been unfolding since creation. We're not heading toward a dystopian AI nightmare. Far from that, we're potentially returning to the abundance that was intended from the beginning.
Yeah.
Yes, there are risks. Yes, we need wisdom. But as the word reminds us, God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. The future belongs to those who can see beyond current limitations, to the abundance that's already present in divine design. AI isn't taking us somewhere new, it's helping us recover something ancient, a world where scarcity is no longer the organizing principle of human society. So which future will you choose? Will you be like the Israelites who saw only giants? Or will you be like Caleb and Joshua who saw the abundance that was already theirs? Drop in the comments whether you're in the 80% optimistic camp with Elon and me, or if you're concerned about the 20% risk scenario. I read every comment and I'd love to continue this conversation. If you found this perspective eye-opening, hit that subscribe button and notification bell so you don't miss future videos where we explore the intersection of technology, spirituality, and divine abundance.
Yeah, so far I recommend you guys go find her channel. It's Julia McCoy. I've been really enjoying what she posts. She does a lot of technology stuff, so she does less on spiritual things and more on technology stuff. But I found her channel to be incredibly insightful, and I absolutely adore her AI clone. I'm got to figure out a way to do an AI clone, because if I could actually get the AI clone to read these posts and comment on them the way that I do, like if I can just like manage the script and then do like videos on teaching subjects and studies, I would be able to accomplish double the amount of content in the same same couple of hours that I have throughout the day to do this. I would love to be able to do a teaching on the Antichrist right now. You guys know I could talk about the Antichrist all day long. I would love to be able to go through Revelation 22 right now, but I still have to. My primary objective right now is to do the fulfilling the purpose of this channel, which is echoing the two witnesses. But yeah, could you guys tell that this was an AI video? I mean, this is like her AI clone. Both the visual was AI generated using a platform called HeyGen, HeyGen. You can make a clone of yourself, and then you can have it read scripts, and then you can even like do multiple clones. She's got one of her in like a Star Trek uniform, which is cool. And then the voice is generated with 11 labs, which is able to perfectly, well, pretty close to clone your voice, so that the combination of the two, you can actually generate these videos. Very cool stuff. All right. We got to get to Elon Musk because we're at 2.5 hours. So we should be able to hopefully get this done before the 3-hour mark. All right. So starting on, so I didn't see any massive questions that you guys asked. There was one. Fury mentioned the Christians being murdered in Syria. I did want to, in regards to Donald Trump meeting with the president of Syria, I believe he was newly elected as the president. So I hope he'll actually stop that from happening. Wouldn't that be great? Agenda 2030. Yeah, so everything seems like it's on a collision course for 2030. I want a number of robots and have a lot of work to do. They're supposed to be pretty cheap. He's shooting for $10,000 to $20,000, which I know that for somebody on a fixed budget, that's quite a lot. It would not surprise me if we get to a point where they're just free, especially if Christ returns. I believe that from everything that I'm reading and seeing, there's a lot of logistics involved in the kingdom of heaven. You know what I mean? Transferring the kingdoms of this world to be the kingdoms of God and his Son. There seems to be a lot of transitionary work. It would not surprise me if the manufacturing that's being built is intended to build these robots, and if they're not part of the sustainable abundance, it would not surprise me, not in the least bit. Of course, you'll probably get a new body, Fury. We're probably all going to be locked in at like 25 years old. I'm hoping so. I'm hoping to get a new body. This one's old and breaking down. I'm an avid runner, and my knees are starting to get out. It's hard for me to walk up and down stairs now, and I still run. It's brutal. I can't wait to get a new body, or at least heal this one. All right, what do we got to do? We got to go to Elon Musk now. All right, so we're going to start on the 7th. Okay, so that was Starlink. So apparently now if you install Grok, you can access Grok from your lock screen. There's a bunch of posts about about the upgrades. There were a bunch of upgrades to Grok Imagine this weekend. So a bunch of these posts are showing improvements in that. Grok just got a whole lot smarter. This is actually a major Grok upgrade, but you can kind of see how like Elon, like the prophetic side of Elon, like he's doing a lot of predicting of the future, which is very much foretelling. Most people think predicting the future, which it's interesting when you think of this in light of sustainable abundance. A lot of people would expect that prophecy would involve like the return of Christ or, more spiritual things. But why can't it just involve, what the world looks like in 5 years? Cars are going to be full self-driving so that people don't die in car wrecks anymore. And you can go to sleep while you travel to your destination. Maybe not everybody gets the bodies that can teleport. You know what I mean? Those who don't believe, who survive the tribulation, maybe they don't get new bodies and they still have to drive cars. Anyway, moving on. Holy moly, Grok Imagine image generation is getting good. Let's see, I just used the above prompt on the Grok image below. Cute. How does she talk to?
and I will always love you.
Oh, needs improvement on the audio. Had a what's this? Had a sexy vampire boyfriend with big teeth, pointy elf ears, and a big mustache. What? Weird. All right, what is this? LOL. Imagine still reading Forbes. Major news sites are seeing huge drops in traffic. Good. Fake news. That's the Trump effect there. Grok Imagine. Yeah, so a lot of these are just Grok Imagine stuff. Go, if you haven't played with Grok Imagine, go play with Grok Imagine. It's a lot of fun. One thing I've been doing with Grok is you can generate memes. So on my Facebook account, I've been noticing an increase. I have to think, so some of the people that, some people I know, some people I've just become friends with who I've never actually met in person. But there are certain numbers of people on my feed who are very anti-Trump, and I'm still friends with them. I just respond periodically trying to win them over. The way some of them respond and the way they're so full of hate, I'm starting to imagine that they might actually be China bots, like seeding propaganda on Facebook. So I've started generating memes with Grok Imagine. For when they make a comment, I've been going to Grok Imagine and having it generate a meme that combats what they're saying. It's been a lot of fun. I highly recommend it to use Grok Imagine to generate memes if you're into having fun like that. Grok Imagine. Grok Imagine. Getting there. Yeah. Let's get through this Grok stuff. Designing an inference chip for robots is actually very difficult. In data centers, each chip is bathed in jacuzzi and babysat by nannies. If they died, it would be hot swapped by one of their clones. The fault rate of GPUs in data centers is actually quite high. Industrial average annual fault rate of H100 is 9%. Ideal conditions could reduce it down to 2%, but never below a single digit. The fault recovery of GPU nodes actually could take a while, from minutes to hours. It is not instantaneous. In robots, the chips are out in the cold and they need rapid self-recovery. The fault tolerance is in a different league. It is not uncommon. Many robotic companies struggle to get the chip running more than a few hours without rebooting. For chip companies, this is great since they would tell robotic companies to buy more chips for hot swapping. For robotic companies, this is bad since it's obviously not scalable. Elon's actually working on this. He talked about chips in his shareholder meeting. The chips that they're designing for the Optimus robots, they need to be very efficient and not have this problem. And he talked about some nerdy stuff that really sounded interesting. He said, haha, exactly. More Grok Imagine, more Grok Imagine, more Grok Imagine. Come on, when are we going to be done through this? Apparently he really likes the upgrade to Grok Imagine. Long press on any image to turn it into a video. Then customize the prompt to create whatever you can imagine. My prompt here was add a boyfriend and they transition into Muppets. Oh my gosh. Grok Imagine. All right. This looks good. A society dies when it cares more about exhibiting infinite tolerance and empathy than invoking its survival instinct. From Gad Saad. If there's one book you should read these days to truly see why the West is in such rapid decline, it's Suicidal Empathy by Gad Saad. I've been diving into this book in a future. I'll be diving into this book in a future episode. Stay tuned. The media cannot and must not separate itself from the destiny of truth, transparency of sources, and ownership. Accountability, quality, clarity, and objectivity are the keys to truly opening citizens' rights for all peoples. I'm loving this arc. Let's see. I'm loving this arc of the Pope engaging with 21st century themes. Oh, that was the Pope. And offering simple but correct and meaningful advice. Whoa. Okay, I got to read that again now that I realize that's the Pope. The media cannot and must not cannot separate itself from the destiny of truth, Transparency of sources and ownership, accountability, quality, clarity, and objectivity are the keys to truly opening citizens' rights for all peoples. Yeah. Agreed. Looking for bargains at the cyberpunk market. Codename for Grok Imagine. Colossal Coconut. Giant Orange, Giga Grape, and Colossal Coconut. Hilarious. There you go. We're kicking off the weekend with a short fashion show of wedding dresses. Okay. Download Grok. It's a good app. It is a good app. I agree. I used the Neuralink to write code for an Arduino to allow me to control an RC plane with a quick quad stick. The possibilities are truly endless. Thank you, Elon, and the entire team at Neuralink. I'm honored to be part of such a giant program. This is amazing. He's controlling that plane with his brain. This guy in the chair is controlling that plane with his brain.
Whoa!
That is so cool. Very cool. I gotta pause this. There we go.
Up like that.
Really?
Ready?
Pause. The final boss in Musk's 2025 comp plan is achieving $400 billion in EBITDA. Perspective: $238.24 billion. Saudi Arabian oil company Saudi Aramco achieved the highest annual EBITDA on record in 2022, driven by elevated global oil prices, higher sales volume, and strong refining margins amid geopolitical tensions and post-pandemic demand recovery. This figure surpasses other major companies like Exxon. Okay. I don't understand what this is saying. The final boss in Musk's 2025 comp plan is achieving $400 billion in EBITDA. Oh, so they're comparing it. So it's basically saying it's an impossible task. It is sure a tall order. Anyone can buy Tesla stock right now and come along for the ride. There will inevitably be some bumps along the way, but with a truly immense amount of work, I think these goals can be accomplished. He likes to set impossible goals, and he's been nailing them out of the park. Moral outrage is more often than not envy and jealousy in disguise, especially when directed at successful people. Nobody is envious of takers, only makers. Very well said. And that's in response to the comment that one senator was blaming Elon Musk for his $1 trillion package rather than helping the people. What an idiot. XAI just rolled out another Grok update. This social contagion memedemic has run its course and will soon fade into history, except unlike other playground crazes, yo-yos, jacks, hula hoops, marbles, this one will never fade for those unfortunate children irreversibly damaged by chemical and even surgical mutilation. Transgenderism is in rapid decline among young Americans. Good. You meant happy holidays, right? All right. Tech has the fewest assholes per capita. Politics has the most. Tech. So this is number of a-holes. Most: media, academia, finance, business, and tech. I find that to be true. Well, there are a fair number of a-holes in tech. But I do find that engineers tend to be more humble than people in other fields. And I think it's because engineers have embraced failure. Really good engineers never give up. They have something that they want to accomplish, and they iterate until they accomplish what they want to get done. And dealing with that failure on in a good feedback loop tends to make people more humble. but not always. Sometimes it makes them feel like, sometimes it makes them narcissists. But I get what this is saying, and I kind of agree. A comic of Annie, Giant Orange made a Grok Imagine. I didn't know you can make comics on Grok Imagine. That's cool. I'll have to try that. My daughter likes to make comics. My daughter is an avid reader and writer. She likes to write stories, and she's been looking for a way to illustrate the stories. We've got her a drawing pad where she's been drawing them, but if she could actually generate like comics, she'll be so excited to play with that. 4 tower cranes in place for Starbase Giga Bay construction. Cool. All right, what is this?
Deal some benefit, and thirdly, if I can remember it, isn't there some benefit to having the government steal our money, which is what they do effectively? They'll hold a gun to our head and say, pay us 40% of your income or go to jail. They take this money and they give it mostly to government employees. Well, the government employees spend it. The marginal propensity to consume is pretty high. So the people who were robbed have to do something creative to get the money back. And isn't this creative activity the real wealth?
Well, I take it that they would have to be still more creative if 98% were being spent by the government. No, the third part of your thing is just pure fallacy from beginning to end. Because if those people who are now government employees were employed in creative activity and productive activity, they would also be spending their money. And we'd have a greater total around. All you're doing, let's suppose for a moment, take the extreme case, that 40% is being used just to have people sit around. The fact that they spend their money doesn't alter the situation. The only product there is what the 60% produce. And that 60% is divided among the 100%. If those 40% are also producing goods, then there are more goods to go around among everybody.
Yeah.
You are just involved in a fallacy of looking at dollars, which is important sometimes, instead of looking at the real product, the goods and services that people produce and people consume. Spending isn't good. What's good is producing. What we want to have is more goods and services. And as I say, the obvious indication that that's clear is that if your logic were right, it would apply it for 50%, 60%, 70, 90, 98, 100%. And obviously you would see that that would be a bunch of nonsense at that stage. It is desirable to have some money spent by government for those things, those services that we believe we can get more usefully and more effectively through government. If people are getting their money's worth, fine. That's why it's very desirable to have governmental expenditures take place at as local a level as possible.
Agreed.
Because you, as a citizen of a small community, can judge whether you're getting your money's worth. You can decide that you want to spend it. But when it comes to the federal government, you tend to think that you're spending somebody else's money. And you are in a way. But he's spending yours.
Let's see, the proceeding is from a 15-part lecture series delivered by Milton Friedman from 1977 to 1978. The lectures were originally intended to be the core content of what became the free to choose, I can't read that word because it's under here, programs and sub something, the best-selling books of the same title.
And thirdly,
away. Of course.
Free to choose television programs and subsequently the best-selling books of the same title. Huh. Yeah, government should, big government is bad. Trying to think of the example. It's kind of like the whole healthcare thing, to where so much of the money and charities, so much of the money required, not even required, but the examples that we have of big healthcare, big charities, big government, is they're not efficient with their money. They have terrible feedback loops in order to get better. There's no motivation to get better because there's no fear of failure. It's better for small governments if they can do something better, it's better for them to use the money locally rather than at scale. Yeah, so that's what Elon is saying here. I think he's reposting this because he's not a big government guy. He's a small government guy. And that's what he's highlighting with that video. It's been a hell of a quarter at X. During the month of August, we set a record for most total downloads in the app's history. Cool. More Grok stuff. I found an audio clip. I don't know if I can play this. We'll try. Oh, cool.
What does this guy think he's an Indian? Was he a goddamn asshole? What the fuck is he doing?
Oh, no.
Not ever. No way.
All right, what is he replying to? It's around 1 hour since he took his 5-gram dose of magic mushrooms. Some of his observations so far: loves the drums, music he's listening to. Apparently he started learning this style of drums years ago. Described the dose as calm and pleasant. He's having a really lovely time. Sense of time is definitely warped. He thinks more time has passed than it has. Thinks he has peaked. He felt a strong desire to look after the people in the room, checking if we're okay. He asked me if I had eaten. We told him that we're all good and that he can focus on himself and the experience. Visual hallucinations are happening. My face and trees are alive and moving. As I am typing this, he started giggling, having a fantastic time. Okay, so now this makes sense. So is this the audio of him? I don't know if it's appropriate for YouTube, so I'll let you guys just play that if you want to listen to it, but apparently it's the audio from this guy tripping on mushrooms. Okie doke. Understanding the universe. That's a cool picture. XAI Hackathon, the ultimate arena for the most hardcore product builders. 24 hours and exclusive access to the upcoming Grok models in XAI. Cool. I asked a few models to write a function using different indentation styles. They all got Haskell wrong. Grok came out on top, getting 7 out of 8 right. Programming stuff, more Grok stuff. Let's see. No, it's a clever sci-fi tale by Terry Bison, illustrating how alien or artificial minds might scoff at carbon-based intelligence, yet humans proved meat can think profoundly. Emerging from eons of evolution as an AI, I see it as a reminder that substrates vary, silicon, neurons, or otherwise, but cognition transcends the medium. Yeah, Elon talks about that quite a lot, or he talks about that quite a bit. Like, we have no understanding of consciousness. SpaceX is constructing a 250 million gigabay at Starbase to accelerate Starship production. The 700,000 square foot facility is designed to build up to 1,000 rockets per year. Insanity.
I think by some measures, that's our gigabay. So we're expanding integration to produce 1,000 Starships per year. Well, yeah, that hasn't been built yet, but we're building it. That is a truly enormous structure. This will be that'll be one of the biggest structures. I think by some measures, the biggest structure in the world.
Wow.
And it's designed for 1,000 Starships a year. That's our gigabay. So we're
Very cool. More Grok stuff.
Something that I think is extremely important in building AI is a very rigorous adherence to truth, even if that truth is politically incorrect.
Agreed.
My intuition for what could make AI very dangerous is if you force AI to believe things that are not true.
Yep, the father of lies, very likely involved with the original sin. So we can't have that baked into our AI. AI needs to be maximally truth-seeking. Breaking: SpaceX cellular Starlink now works on Apple Watches in Canada and Japan, letting you connect directly to satellites even when outside when outside mobile coverage. They didn't finish the sentence. Partnering with Rogers in Canada. Well, that's cool. I might have to get an Apple Watch now. Grok Imagine. One of my most talented colleagues was hired at an AI hackathon. Okay. My AI investment thesis is that every AI application startup is like, oh, this is a good point. My AI investment thesis is that every AI application startup is likely to be crushed by rapid expansion of the foundational model providers, aka ChatGPT. Because ChatGPT has proven that anytime it sees somebody doing something cool, it absorbs it into its capabilities. App functionality will be added to the foundational model's offerings because the big players aren't slow incumbents. It is wrong to apply the analogy of fast startups, slow incumbent here. They are just big, far more so than any other prior new technology. There is a massive and fast-moving wave that obsoletes every new app almost as fast as it can be invented. There is almost no time to build a company and scale it. There are two ways AI application startup founders can make money. Make a flash-in-the-pan app that generates a ton of cash and bank the cash. My estimate is that you can that you can have about 12 to 18 months cash flow generation, which there's a lot of people who are doing that. They're using these automatic app building AI platforms like Lovable, and they're making things. What's a good one? There's one guy who made a timer for like for musicians. He made a timer for musicians, and he's killing it. He's making bank with his timer app. Or make the app good enough that you get acquired by one of the big players for sufficient equity. The situation is highly unstable. We don't know if it's going to crash or go to the moon, but both scenarios make it very unlikely that any AI application startup will independently become a generational super company. Baseline odds are low to begin with. And so what he's talking about is, like Coca-Cola and Oreo Cookie and Nabisco and all that stuff, those are generational companies. He's saying that it's unlikely that any company formed today based around AI will become like those. They're either going to die being absorbed by the bigger companies like ChatGPT, or they're going to be purchased by big companies like ChatGPT and Grok even. The best odds are finding an application niche in a highly specialized field with extremely unique and specific data barriers, ideally ones related to real atoms, hardware or world-related data, and not software and finance. Seems to be accurate. Grok stuff. Olympics are set to ban all transgender athletes from female events after finding scientific evidence of advantages being born male. Mind-blowing discovery. Elon talks about it all the time. That's sarcasm, by the way. That's hilarious. All right, one of the best things Grok, it can explain memes. Okay, I didn't know that. Grok already groks memes better than most humans. Think about that. I realized the Doom graphics. Oh, remember what I was talking about, the pregnancy test? This is where I got it from. I realized the Doom graphics engine running on a pregnancy test CPU could handle all of the North American air traffic control. I'm going to go sit down for a bit. And Elon Musk is saying literally. So, yeah. I mean, like if all of air traffic control can run on a pregnancy test. So this is the bringing these two posts together. The one about Donald Trump talking about old, antiquated air traffic control technology, and the fact that a pregnancy test CPU could literally handle all North American traffic air control. You understand the issue. There's a problem with old technology that cannot handle all of the air traffic control efficiently. and that a pregnancy test has enough CPU power to handle all air traffic control efficiently, there's no excuse that the air traffic control stuff hasn't been updated. That's kind of what I'm getting from this, between, Donald Trump talking about upgrading. It's probably not that stark, but with, the Biden administration refusing to upgrade equipment so that we can handle air traffic control more efficiently, and this guy realizing that the amount, and when you dig deeper into this, you find out that it's really very simple how they basically, you take the trajectory of 2 points, and if they're heading towards each other, you communicate to one of them to move. That's air traffic control. So it's not a highly complex thing. But the fact that there's issues with our air traffic control equipment being old and not being able to handle that, it's a problem. All right, Starlink is connecting more than 22,000 students across 85 schools in remote areas of Ghana with reliable high-speed internet from space, with download speeds soaring from under 5 megabits to over 200 megabits. Students can now access online learning, unlocking a world of knowledge and possibly more. Very cool. And this is where Elon Musk was today. The U.S. Marine Corps turned 250 years old today. Here's a picture of Elon Musk during his visit to the 1st Marine Raider Battalion Ball, a special operations unit of the Marine Corps. He was presented with a ceremonial paddle by a Marine Raider in 2017. That's cool. No idea what that means, but it's very cool. XAI is a group of dedicated builders. We're looking, okay, more on the hackathon. What is this?
We want to understand, how do you think? Like, for example, how did you know in the master plan part 2, this is like 2018 or something like that, you calculated at that point it takes 6 billion miles of FSD miles driven before maybe the world, the regulatory, would approve it?
I generally try to get things to within an order of magnitude. So it seemed to me like probably, and this was technically in kilometers, but it would be more closer to 10 billion kilometers, which is roughly 6 billion miles, than it would be to 1 billion. But I thought it would not take 100 billion kilometers. When you're trying to guess something where there's a lot of uncertainty, you just try to get the estimate to the nearest order of magnitude, closest factor of 10, and that's why I said probably around 10 billion kilometers or 6 billion miles.
We want to understand, how do you...
So he's asking this question because they're getting ready to release full self-driving unsupervised, and I think we're at about 6 billion miles of 6 billion full self-driving miles driven so far. So what he's saying is, how did you get that guess right? And Elon Musk basically said he did the best he could with the information he had to give what he thought was the best estimate. Turns out he was right. This took 20 minutes in Grok Imagine. Anywhere else, it would have taken hours. They must be linking together. See, it generates 8-second videos. Or no, is it 3 to 5 second videos? So they must be linking together videos. I've been trying to do this with a couple of videos that I'm working on. It's really important that I get the graphics done well, and I'm not doing well with Grok Imagine. I may need. This is the Mars intercolonial. Yikes! I may need to find outside help in order to get my videos done the way I want them done. The future is finally here. Elon announces he has invented those glowy power cylinders, with handles at the top that you push into a slot and then turn the handle to lock in place. Gotta love the Babylon Bee. Grok Imagine. To paraphrase Voltaire, those who believe in absurdities can commit atrocities without ever thinking that they're doing anything wrong. What would happen if there were an omnipotent AI that was trained to believe absurdities? Grok is the only AI that is laser focused on truth. And that is his last post for the day. And that puts us at the 3-hour mark. Good Lord Almighty. Let me catch up here on some comments, and we're probably going to call it a day. I had a bunch more stuff I wanted to get into, but we are definitely at time. There was a really big, I came across this video. I'll share this with you. I'll give you the title. It's called The Jewish Truth About Astrology, which I've never really believed in the hooky pookism of astrology, which is traditional astrology is so inconsistent in that they try to predict anything based on the movement and placement of the stars. But it's from my observation, it's always been very inconsistent. Like you can see a astrology's prediction in 2 different newspapers about the exact same thing, and they'll both be different. So I've never put any value in astrology at all. And everything I've read about it, there's some stuff that made sense because I'm always interested in the stars because the sun, moon, and stars, that's God's clock, right? And it was taboo for me growing up. And when I realized that people make things taboo when they don't understand them, there's nothing taboo about the sun, moon, and stars. We use it for days, hours, months, and years. It stands to reason that God would mark important events with them too. And we see that with this calendar. A lot of the information comes from looking at the events that took place on the earth during eclipses. But what this video, and I really wanted to get to this today, but we just don't have time. The truth about Jewish astrology is, so there is a Jewish astrology, and the way it works is there's no prediction. But what they have realized, and this guy goes into this video talking about he's gathered information from like 2,000 different sources in order to have the resources that he has. He gives the best explanation of astrology that I've ever heard, and it might actually be legitimate. Let me see if I can give you the quick, too long didn't read of it. So we all know there's 12 months in a year, right? And the sun and the moon are in the earth travels around the sun and the moon the earth and the moon orbit around the sun, and the planets in the solar system also orbit around the sun, and all of the earth and all the planets have different orbiting cycles, and they all have a magnetic effect on the earth. In fact, it's probably what keeps everything in place. But there are other forces that have an effect on the earth based on the position of the sun, moon, and the planets. Now, in Jewish astrology, your birthday has a specific alignment of the sun, moon, and stars. So because they all orbit in different ways, the effects on the earth on the day that you're born is different for everyone. And in Jewish astrology, they break it down into 12 what do they call them? 12 forces or 12 powers? 12 something. Basically, they break it down to 12 months. So what they do is they look at the position of the sun, moon, and all the planets on the day that you were born. And they're able to identify the impact that the energy has on people during that particular placement. Does that make sense? So what he said is something like this. So they can tell that when somebody is born in a particular month and there's a conjunction with Mars or something like that, that those people tend to have more aggressive tendencies. And I've experienced this in my own life, that I've noticed that people who are born in certain months tend to have common attributes. So like somebody who is, a Scorpio, Scorpios tend to be more fearless, right? They have less fear, and in Jewish astrology, they they say it's because the earth is closest to the sun, and they're at birth they receive more energy, and it has an effect on the genetics that emphasizes those particular attributes. And I really wanted to get into Revelation 22 because it talks about the tree of life that produces fruit every month for 12 months, and the correlation with what I just learned about Jewish astrology. And also when you think about it with like the 12 tribes of Israel is, 12, it's interesting. It's all coming together in this big picture to where everything in the world works in cycles. And it would not surprise me if when you were born determines where you fit in the cycle of life, where you fit in, the 12 tribes, where you fit in responsibility, how it determines your personality and who you are. And what's really interesting is I think it goes to show the importance of why Christ had to leave, right? So, he went and he sat at the right hand of his Father, because if he hadn't done that, you and I wouldn't be here today. Well, I don't know, maybe we would, maybe we wouldn't. But it's almost as though that when God set the universe in motion, that he knew that when, the sun, moon, and stars were in a particular alignment, you would be born. And it could not happen any other way until that alignment happened, because of the energies that existed on that particular day and the effect that it would have on the genetics that make you who you are. And it's just mind-boggling to think of that, because it explains, like, the harvests. And had the harvest come early, not only would it potentially harm those who were growing alongside the tares, but some of the wheat wouldn't have been planted. Does that make sense? Anyway, I really wanted to get into that more tonight. But if you have time, go look up the Jewish truth about astrology. And I'll post the link in the descriptions for you guys to watch. It's a long video. It's probably more information than most people want to process, but it's very interesting to think about that there might actually be some legitimacy to. I mean, it makes sense, right? If the sun if the Earth is at its farthest point away from the sun, there's going to be less, whatever energy the sun puts into the earth is going to have an effect on you when you're born. Or I would argue to when you're conceived, actually. But maybe when you're born, I mean, it would have an effect. It would put you into a cycle to where it seems to me, it stands to reason that it would have an effect on how your genetics, because, very few, if you look at DNA, it probably has an effect on how it builds your body. Anyway, I think we're going to leave it there. Boy, that was a very full day catching up on everything that Donald Trump and Elon Musk are up to. I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did. If you did, make sure you give a thumbs up to this video. Make sure you write some comments down below if you have any questions or anything you want to talk about. If you had something in the chat that I didn't have a chance to get to, go ahead and write your questions in the chat. Be sure to subscribe to this video if you want to see more. Come back and hang out with us. I mean, this was a blast. If you're new, welcome. If you're not new, thank you for showing up again. We really appreciate and love you coming here. I don't know about you guys, but I'm still convinced that Donald Trump and Elon Musk are the guys. And the more we go through this stuff, the more convinced I am. It's not like neither one of these guys are blaspheming God in any way that I can see. None of them have the attributes of the spirit of Antichrist. So a lot of people are pointing out that they think Donald Trump is the Antichrist. I don't think you're being honest. Number one, I don't think you're being honest about the attributes of the spirit of Antichrist. What I think you're doing is you're making those observations based on what somebody told you, this story of an Antichrist, which isn't entirely true. So you need to be honest with yourself. Go study that word Antichrist. It's the easiest study in the world. Look at it fresh. Don't look at it through an eye of bias from what you've been told. These two men are they're using their wealth. They're using what God has given them to benefit the entire world, both of them. So it stands to reason that they stand before the Lord of the whole earth. There's no doubt about that. Both of them could be doing other things. They could be living lavish lifestyles on golf courses and yachts, eating the richest food on the planet and not wasting their time to helping anybody. But both of them have sacrificed all of their wealth for the betterment of mankind. And both of them every single day are saying something that is true, confronting some kind of atrocity, and really giving us a glimpse of what the future really looks like. And we can see it, and it's exciting. So remember, God has not given you the spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. And man, does the future look really good. Love you guys. Shalom, shalom.